It's another very special episode of the All About Counter-Strike podcast. This time, it's all about HooXi. He's joining us as our special guest. We're very lucky to have him on the show, especially as he's had a bit of time off into an Astralis moment that I didn't think we'd ever see, but I don't know, it might have been a nice experience for you. HooXi, welcome. How are you, my dude?
Thank you, thank you. Uh, Mostly good. I've been sick a little bit the past few days, but besides that, all good. Happy to be here.
Devil, you're joining us as always. You have no choice. You have to be here.
Yeah.
It's only a few days since we filmed the last episode, so not really too much to catch up on. Nothing's happened.
No, just had a little bit of a break day, done some research, and then straight into it. So it's been relaxing though, but
Mhm.
good.
Now, I've got to ask this straight away, Hooksy. Coming back to events and you get ill on your first event, it's like the experience you need to go through, right? It's just what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah. I don't know what to say. Honestly, it's just I think my immune system just wasn't ready
Yeah,
for all
it's
the
like
all the land flu and stuff like that. So yeah, it just had to happen. It's all good.
this happens to all of us as well. This is like a normal thing. Land flu, it's not even a
Yeah.
flu. It's just you have different food, you go to a different country, you travel, you sleep less, and then you get wrecked by it all. That's just
Yeah,
part of it.
and as a Norwegian, you're not used to AC as well. So like
Yeah.
you go on flights, there's like this weird air, then you go in the hotel room, there's AC on all the time, and then that also kind of messes you up a bit. So
I feel like you're also in this like kind of battle mode. You're prepping, you're so into the
yeah,
work, doing all that stuff, and then instantly when you get back home, your whole system just relaxes a little bit, and you
yeah,
just get smacked in the face.
it's 0 to 100 real quick and then back to zero. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
very
yes, it is.
stressful.
Well, let's come on. We're going to start this by we've got all the way back here, Hooksy, for you. We're going back to Hooksy on a team called Ambush. This was your first ever HLTV match,
That
2017. On the other team you were playing against, Berry was on the other team, Bubsky was on the other team.
that
You were
is
playing with TML, Sommer, Latino Bomben. That's one I don't know. And PNX. What a name, by the way. What a name. Can you tell us your like what it meant to you back then, getting your first ever HLTV match? Like, was that like a nice moment, a defining moment?
well. I think that depends on like this is definitely wrong because my first HLTV match was not an ambush, but this
Ah,
might
okay,
be my
what
Oh,
was the
first.
first team?
This might be the first one where I'm on LED. Maybe that's it.
Ah, okay.
okay.
um, yeah, my first one was with my XMG, and I played against Space Soldiers, and I got absolutely wrecked by
Okay.
Santars.
Was that
Um,
online?
yeah, that was online.
That's when they
Um,
had high ping as well from Turkey. I remember them games.
yeah, but somehow he still almost 40 bombed us. I remember it like yesterday. We played Dust 2 and like every time we had a good situation he just killed 4 or something. And I remember my AWPer was getting scouted through the doors like 3 rounds or something,
Ooh.
even though he had AWP.
Oh
That was really
no.
tough.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I don't even remember who played AWP for Space Soldiers back then. But yeah, the team you're talking about, well, PNX is he was actually pro. Before I played with him, he went to lands in Ukraine and Russia and everything.
Okay.
With MSL and those guys from like the bit back in the days in the Danish scene. Um, but he didn't really want to gamble on going full time back then because it was not as secure of a living.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got a chance to play with him, and then the other three, well, TML is still a good friend of mine. I play Faceit with him a lot.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
and he was also kind of recently the coach of Ecstatic. Um,
Okay.
so people might know him. Uh, Latino Bumpen is, I don't know.
What a name.
He was mostly playing for fun, but he was actually really talented. And he was like he had a team, like a bunch of dudes who always played kind of mixed teams going to Danish lands, and they somehow always won. And they were like notorious in the Danish scene for that. And summer, I don't know, I played with him uh, for my first few years of CS:GO, and he also was actually pretty good and could have become much better, but he got a wrist injury that really fucked his career. So yeah, it could have been a good team if we gave it more time and people went more all in. But yeah, it is what it
Were you
is.
already going kind of all in at that point, or when did you get to that point?
Um, yeah, I think so. I started to like get my passion for the game in Source, and then went to my first like local lands and stuff like this, and then CS:GO came out, and I was not a huge fan like most other people. It was
Yeah,
really a bad game back then. And then I was going to school at the time, and I took a year break from the game because it was so bad. And yeah, I kind of pulled a simple in that way. Um, and then I think I came back when I got the opportunity to play with PNX. I went to the same school as him, so that's kind of how I
oh,
got to know him. And yeah, from that, I just I don't know. I played as much as I could. I stopped like going to. I was playing handball and football back then, but I stopped doing that because of a shoulder injury. And then
Mm.
I just went more and more all in. And then when I was done with school, I was like, I could go and like get a job or like travel the world or whatever, but I wanted to chase this. And I just kept going for a few years, and then I think it kind of started escalating when I joined Flames the first time.
yeah.
Mhm.
So so yeah, I would say
I
I've been all in for since I joined Flames pretty much.
I have a question. So, like, when you're playing with this PNX kind of team, were you ever the in-game leader at that point, or just like a second
Oh,
caller, or when did this transition kind of step into it?
back then I was like my biggest idol was Sipnix.
Yeah,
And I wanted to be
Ah.
that kind of, support player, lurker type role. Um, and I think I always developed some skills when it comes to calling and controlling people in that sense of like I felt a responsibility for that side of the map
yeah.
because you know that the lurker always has to help the IGL in a sense. So I think I started to develop it at that time, and then um, I think the IGLing started um, on a mixed team I played on before I joined Flames the first time.
Is this
Um,
the mixed team that was called like free agents?
Free transfer, yeah,
A free transfer, free transfer.
yeah, exactly. I was playing with ANJ uh, and Roy, and then I had Farley with me for one LAN as well. SMF that you might remember from back in the days,
Yeah,
and
Holst.
yeah, Horst was the last guy, yeah, and we actually played against Saiwu to qualify for that LAN that I'm talking about, which is
Oh,
also kind of funny.
was it when he was
um,
playing mixed teams back then, or was it like when he was in that
he was playing at that AAA team.
triple A? Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was full carry. Like it was
yeah.
crazy. I remember so clearly we played Overpass and they had Eco, and we were 4v1. He had USP in heaven, and we were so scared to peek him because he was just
Oh
one tapping
no.
everyone. Still, like even though he only had a USP and we had full guns, no, no, it still got
I
scary.
also
So
have PTSD from Saivu on Overpass when
yeah,
he joined like a mixed team with I think Kiyoshima and some other guys like just after the triple A session. I
mm,
played them with a mixed team of my own, like Swedes, and we were owning them. Like, well, not owning them, but let's say it's like 12-12. Saivu has like 40 kills, and
yeah,
and then he just went on to have like 50 kills and beat us like
yeah,
16-12 or something. He was
yeah.
absolutely insane.
Yeah, but it's funny how many names you can recognize from a random Danish LAN that I went to before joining Flames. Like I beat Saiwu to qualify, and I went like we lost against Frozen and his team at the LAN. So it's like so random. I feel like now when you look at the names and stuff, but yeah,
It's interesting, right? Because where do we say this on terms of looking at your teams? We spoke a bit about Ambush, right? You talk about when you joined Flames. Is that where you would say is Flames your first pro team? Or how do you look at it? Because you're still competing in some good
yeah,
events before you join Flames.
yeah. I wouldn't even call Flames a pro team necessarily. It was more like a semi-pro. Like
Okay.
Y for example still had a job. To
Hmm.
to make sure that he had enough money for rent and all stuff like that.
Jesus.
So he had like a part-time job and then he was playing part-time CS and
That's crazy.
yeah, no, that was not a lot of money in like the Danish scene at the time and just CS
Hmm.
in general. Yet it was only like the prize pools were starting to become bigger and bigger, but salaries were not really there yet.
And
Mm.
this is the Flames, right? So if we look, I'm talking about 2018. I'm looking at Flames
Hmm.
of you, Farley, Roy, even Cyclone,
Yeah,
Basso as well.
yeah.
And
I was not the ideal of the first iteration of Flames either. I was just the Siptix kind of guy still.
still,
Was Cyclone the
okay.
IGL in this iteration?
Yeah, yeah. Cyclone was calling, and it was only after we kicked him and we got console that
Oh yeah.
I started calling.
Okay.
How was
Yep.
that transition? Was that just a natural thing or just something that's forced upon you?
uh, yeah, I think that was definitely not forced on me. I wanted to try it out
Okay.
because I was calling before I joined Flames, as I said, with
Hmm.
this free transfer team, and I liked it. I think I did a good job, and yeah, then I don't think me and Cyclone we saw the game in the same way in Flames, and um, yeah, I kind of wanted to try my way with that team, and then yeah, after that I just the rest is history, I guess.
Yeah.
You took it full on.
But did you feel like when you had like the lurker role that you did make a lot of calls how to rotate or where the team should go, even though because being a
Yeah,
lurker you always have to be like smart. Like no lurker is, I would say, like doesn't know the game or understand rotations on a map, which is probably one of the most important things as a caller as well, understanding why people rotate and when they do it.
yeah, no,
Um,
I think I was helping a lot, as much as I could, and maybe sometimes too much. And I think that's also what kind of made me wanna become an idealist. Like I hated getting overruled when I felt like I had a good call. So yeah,
that's pretty
I
funny.
like that. I like that. Yeah, that's it, right? You want to have a bit more control over it all. So
yeah,
the second Copenhagen Flames. So I'm going to call it the second one. Maybe you can correct me because this is what's crazy, HooXi. When we look down this, when I'm trying to research all the different players you played with,
yeah.
there was so many different good rosters on paper of
Mm.
players that came in and out while you were playing here. I've got one here which is like you, Farley, Refresh, Nodios, Tessa's in there as well.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. That lineup went to Flashpoint and lost every single game somehow. I don't know how.
on paper, that roster sounds amazing, by the way.
Yeah, no, I thought it was good too. Tessus was playing out of his mind. He was like full star role at the time,
Yeah.
and Farley was obviously like I thought he would become the next device. Like he was
Oh
so good
wow.
when we played against all the best teams in I think it was like some kind of major qualifier or something. We played phase and he was
Mhm.
just smashing them, like rotating everywhere, like this device style of like taking one shot, killing one, then rotating to the right place, killing another one, and he was just
Yeah.
everywhere all the time. And yeah, I think there was a lot more potential in that lineup than we actually showed.
But they also got kind of hijacked after a while, where I think
Yeah.
Tessus went to heroic
Hmm.
during this time, and then I came in and stole Farleg to Godsent. Uh,
Yeah. Fucking hell.
so my question essentially here is like,
Oh
how has it
no.
been like being in these kinds of lineups where you're constantly shifting players, constantly maybe even getting stars, where things are just starting to roll and they get snatched away from you, and also this being kind of your like, you haven't been an in-game leader for that long at this point.
Yeah,
So this was kind of like maybe your first experience of getting this, like being at this like just under the tier 1 level where people just keep taking your star players. You have to start over in some sense.
Mhm.
mm, it's obviously super frustrating.
Yeah.
um, I think it was like, I don't know, maybe the fifth time or something that one of my best players got snatched to somewhere else, and I understand, of course, why you would
Yeah.
want to go like to heroic or godsend or some other place. But yeah, I think especially for me, like I always create a really strong bond with my teammates in terms of like I spend so many hours with them, and I spend so much energy on trying to make the best results with the players I have and all this, and then um, when they kind of just leave, it hurts a little bit extra. I don't know, but you know, as I got older as well, I understood better that it's you know it's a part of the business, and you just have to deal with it in a way, and there will always be somebody else that can, you know, it's very few players that are actually irreplaceable. So in that sense,
Yeah.
it's all right when you're in that level, like in that tier, then
Yeah.
there will always be someone else.
But it's also kind of, in a weird way, it can be a blessing.
Mm,
Because, for example, like Farlig, he came to Godsend. I heard a lot of good stuff about you, and I've only spread the word like further from his words, that he always called you like probably one of the hardest workers that he's played with,
mm.
and always had high praise for you. So that definitely came into my mind, and I started looking a lot more at what you did in that time and how annoying your teams actually were to play against, which is
Yeah,
always a huge compliment. You know.
yeah. Well, you really need that as an ideal as well, because you don't have the stats to back up your gameplay, right? You can't just put a 130 rating and then people will know, okay, this guy will smash whoever runs into his crusher, right? You have to kind of spread the word a bit that you know what you're doing and stuff like this. Um, so yeah, I'm happy to hear that that it
Was
got
it
spread.
still was it still a question like when you're in Copenhagen Flames at that point that they needed to sell these players, they couldn't hold on to them, right? So they had to
Mm,
go. Yeah, so it
yeah,
was more money.
yeah, that was basically just a business model to make the whole thing going,
Yeah.
which also made sense because if you think about it, like how much does a sponsor actually get from you know throwing money into Copenhagen Flames at that time? Like we had maybe on a good day like 5,000 followers on Twitter or something. So
Yeah.
like it's kind of restricted in the way of like how much uh commercials and stuff like this we can actually do for people. So yeah, I get it how it worked, but it's
It's
obviously still frustrating.
it's very true as well because like even times where you had, I think it was what, El Giganten, which is obviously huge in the Nordics. It's in
Yeah.
Sweden as well, right, Devilwalk?
Yeah. It's
Yeah, yeah.
it's
So
huge here.
massive company, and I guess people
Mm.
from your region would look at that and think, oh, they've got so much money. But actually, reality is that's a small market in comparison to like a global entity or something like that for you guys. Would you consider that you were still like semi-pro even at this point,
Um,
or was it starting to get better? Were you seeing a change?
it it was definitely getting better, but I can't remember if what my salary was at this point. But I kind of think that's what determines if you are pro or semi-pro, because like if you have a salary where you can, commit to not doing anything but playing CS, then I think you're a full-time pro. And
Yeah.
but I think like you shouldn't be living in Copenhagen with my salary. Then you were cooked. But I think from where I live, like I come from the completely different part of Denmark where it's a bit cheaper to live. So I
Okay.
think I would be fine on that salary. Yeah.
Did you live with parents at that point still, or did you move out?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that's even easier, right? It makes it a bit more simple to do.
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
for
that
sure.
that
Like
that's a
that was an
positive.
active choice as well to
Yeah,
keep living with my parents because you know it was just like it made everything easier. It also gave me more time to play CS because I don't have to think about like always cooking food for myself and always cleaning up and all this adult stuff. I could just play PC like I was a teenager still, so that's good.
but that's a good
It's
help.
also
That's what you need.
also this kind of like, okay, I buy an apartment now, gonna travel half the year, and then
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
doesn't really make sense.
Oh, at this point I didn't have too many travel days, so it was not like that bad in that regard. But yeah, I've never understood the whole thing of like now I have to have like an apartment or a house because I have to travel for 200 and whatever days a year. It makes no sense to me, but yeah,
and then we come on, right? I'm not going to go on to like the 2021 edition of Copenhagen Flames just yet. I want to try and understand the times where you were out of Copenhagen Flames
yeah.
and then you then went back in. How does this conversation go? How do these decisions get made? Like, why does this come to be a part of the career of going in and out of it?
Um, well, the first time I got kicked because Asilion was free and he was like a more experienced IGL with more. I don't wanna. I don't know if it's called trophies or, but at least achievements.
Okay,
So it was just a no-brainer for them to get more experience. And I was obviously a completely new IGL, and I couldn't
yeah,
like. I had enough on my own plate. I couldn't really develop players too well.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, uh, I got benched, kicked, whatever from that team. Went to AGF, which is like it's actually like mostly known for being a football club in Denmark, but
Yeah.
they had an esports division at the same time at that time. So
Everyone had
I
the
played with them.
Astralis in their mind, right? And they were thinking, "Oh yeah, this could be something for the future,
Yeah,
another division."
probably. Yeah, probably. I think everyone had that at some point in Denmark.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, played for them for a little bit. But then the whole thing about being in this tier of CS is also a blessing and a curse in terms of
mm.
like players moving everywhere all the time. So Asilion obviously got a better offer and went to
Ah.
Mad Lions, and that's where I got my ticket back to Copenhagen Flames. So yeah, that's the first time I went, back and forth.
Did you feel any like resentment, like, oh, these guys, they want me back, and because some players can have that sometimes. You get kicked
hmm
and you feel a little bit sour, like you're the guys kicking me, and now you want me
Mm.
back.
No, it was I mostly made fun of it because
Okay.
I like the people a lot in Copenhagen Flames and the players as well. So it was mostly jokes here and there.
They paid you
But
more
yeah,
though.
a little bit, I think, not much.
Okay, they should pay you a little bit more. If they're bringing you back like that, there should be even a small increase. There needs to be a handshake on that.
Yeah,
And it's
no,
it's funny though because you mentioned like Asilian went to Mad Lions, but then you also ended up at Mad Lions. So
yeah. So that's
are you just following each other around?
yeah. But at some point in my career, it was just like I don't know. I was following his footsteps, and then he was following mine, and I don't know. It was
Yeah.
weird. But yeah, that's the second time I was in Flames. Actually the whole roster got sold to Existence, the
Yeah, you had
Spanish
this.
organization, and
It was a few months though. That was it, right?
yeah, that was only a few months, and then me and Refresh got bought by Mad Lions,
hmm
and I was back to playing with Roy in that team, and uh,
Reunited.
yeah, that was like my first taste of being a bit in an international team because it was a Danish lineup, but with a Peacemaker as coach, so it was like kind
Oh
of Danish, kind of
yeah,
English.
bro, he was everywhere. I forgot he was even
Yeah,
in that team.
no, no, he was there
How
for a long time.
how was that? How does that work?
Uh, well, it didn't really. Oh, I think it was a bit messy, honestly.
Yeah,
Obviously, we are communicating in Danish, and he doesn't fully understand it, but he mostly understood like when things were getting too hectic because you can hear
yeah,
in the voices of people how like they like we called it. I think we called it arousal level in G2. Like people are going a bit too crazy, and sometimes they don't go crazy enough and stuff like this. So that was mostly what he was helping with, communication wise, and then yeah, besides that, he was mostly like tactical, because
Yeah,
that's the area where you don't really need to understand the language
of
too well.
course.
But yeah, it's not something I would recommend for anyone. uh, but I think he did what he could from with what he had to work with.
Devilwalk knows how that is.
Yeah,
You
Yeah,
it's
understand that.
difficult.
it is.
We did some weird thing where started learning Albanian words,
Yeah,
in-game words, and
yeah. No, I
I,
think Peacemaker understood a little bit as well, but
yeah,
obviously you would
it's
never
tough.
understand the whole thing. No, no.
No, not that's not a long-term success story at all. But
Yeah,
then let's get on to the positive Copenhagen Flames. So you get made inactive or benched on Mad Lions, right? That comes to an end. You go
yeah.
back to Copenhagen Flames,
Hmm.
and this is where I guess you would say the dream roster came together, right?
Yeah, I guess that's like the tier 2 Astralis. We kind of we made a roster change and everything clicked. Yeah, I don't know. We it was the same story again. Like, but this time it was because Mad Lions wanted to go international or something.
Yeah. So you saw like jail and Cuban and stuff come in, right?
Yeah, and then I was stuck without a team. I played like to keep myself, uh, in the meta, and
Mm-hmm.
just to keep myself going. I was playing a mixed team with Roy, Siphon, Cajun B, and Crystal,
Oh,
and
okay.
yeah, we were playing for a little bit, and then the Flames offer came around, and me and Roy, we got the offer and kind of hijacked Siphon with us because we saw like this guy can shoot. That's
Potential.
yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, then I took a Zillion's place in Flames once again. For fuck's sake. uh,
Oh, this is
so
like a
yeah,
bad joke at this point. This
yeah,
is like a
exactly. No, it's ridiculous, but
whoever
that's
in
what happened.
management was like, yeah, Cillian, no, HooXi. Like there's someone having a back and forth.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Well, they
Yeah,
made the right choice for you in the end. That's the main thing, right?
yeah.
Because
I
like
owe someone a beer somewhere.
yeah, definitely. Because I look back, I've got so many memories of talking to you at the Stockholm Major. But
Hmm.
before we get into the Stockholm Major, I want to talk to you about what it was about this team where things started to click and come together. Like, what was it that made this team do better than the others before? Like, in your eyes, how did this glue start to work?
Um, I think the main recipe for success in that team was just how much people wanted to grind,
Okay.
and how much we were playing. It was the same time as this this Gambit youngsters lineup came up with Shiro and
Yeah,
Nathani and
yeah.
all
Yeah.
those guys. Exile.
The online COVID times.
Yeah, and I think we had something like, well, I can't remember the exact number, but we had so many maps past 3 months. It was crazy on HLTV.
Yeah.
We were playing three best of threes a day, and it was like MR15 still, and it was crazy. And even those Gambit guys, they were even grinding more than us because
They had
even
the most, yeah. It's like them first. You were definitely in the top five because I remember doing my research on it all
yeah,
before, and I was like, Gambit was obviously on a whole other level because they were playing every cup, everything online.
yeah. And
But
the
like,
craziest thing was they were practicing the days they had official still,
yeah,
which was completely insane to me. Like you had two best of threes in official, and then you practice two maps as well or something. I don't know how they
dude,
did it,
they
but
they had a boot camp, right, that was set up, and they all lived together. And this was even
Yeah.
before Hobbit had come to the team. And I just remember, like, whenever I saw them online on Steam, it was either like it was in practice, it
mm,
was in officials, it was something extraordinary.
yeah.
I think the weirdest thing about them as well is because I used to practice them a lot.
Mm,
We used to almost have them exclusively as our practice partner.
Mm.
The thing is, they played all of these officials and they played all these practices, but they were never like going out of their idea of playing. They were
They were
never like
never
joking
trolling.
around
No,
or
never.
anything on the server. They were
that's
always
the groove.
serious.
That's
Yeah.
Groove's way. That
It
is
was
100% his
insane.
way. I
Yeah,
remember hearing a story about that. Like, Groove was the coach, and their mentality was that practice games should basically mimic officials. But you guys will know that's not always like possible. Someone's not quite switched
No,
on or
it's
not ready for
definitely
it.
not possible.
I don't know what he was doing to these kids, but like I've heard this now from multiple people that they just played exactly like they were playing ready to win the whole tournament.
yeah. No,
I
it
think they
was.
were the first guys that was like saving ops and stuff in practice, and you would get annoyed like it's practice, like they're
You could
taking it so
be
serious.
in a 5v2 and they were up like 22-2 against you or something, and they
Yeah.
would just all sit and wait for you. Nobody would run out like idiots or anything, and it's crazy when you think about so many other teams how they practice even today.
Oh yeah,
They were just ahead of everyone in that regard.
discipline.
So yeah, uh, I think that was like the main thing, and then I
Hmm.
think the whole thing of like we had so many officials, we had so many different opponents, and we didn't really have time to practice, and at the same time we didn't have time to prepare for the games either. So we developed like four different ways of playing. We had like four different play styles. We could
Okay,
just switch between like fast, slow, going as a group, being spread out, and it was not like nobody was uncomfortable with doing things that they have never tried before, which was also a big
nice.
strength for us, I think. So yeah, I think those things kind of caught off the good teams when we finally got to play them.
Hmm. It's interesting. I think if you get to that point, it's super strong. I remember us doing something similar, at least in Fnatic, where it wasn't necessarily the structure itself. We just said, okay, we're playing against people who are aggressive, so we'll focus on playing this way
Mm.
because it's good against that, and everyone kind of linked through it.
Yeah. But you know as well that if you then switch your style up and then you lose, you sit back and like, why are we not just playing the way we know how to play, stuff like this.
Yeah,
But there was nothing of this in our team because we didn't have a style, like we didn't have a way
Yeah,
to play. We just played according to the opponent, and like nobody was feeling bad about it or uncomfortable, no matter what map we played. Almost, at least of those 4 or 5 maps we were good on, we always had a really bad map or two.
how was your development as an IGL at this point? That how much more confident were you starting to feel? Because obviously you'd been through a few teams, you'd obviously played with lots of different players. Do you feel like this is where you started to master or understand the way you wanted to do it? I'm not saying master being an IGL, but like understand your way of wanting to lead.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is where my style developed the most. Like I could have gone the more like structured way, or I could have gone the more you know chaotic, crazy way. And I
Mhm.
ended up with the latter. And I think that yeah, it was just what fit the team the best. I think we had really good communication, and we were quick at reacting in the team, and that just made sense then to give people freedom. And I also think that playing with freedom develops players faster, because like if you
Mm,
put them in a box, like how are they supposed to develop? They're just supposed to remember their lineups and their strategies, and then they get into the same scenarios all the time, and there's not really
yeah.
much to talk about.
100%. I think, but I think the one thing when I look back and remember your team, it does look structured when you view it, because it's not people running around. It's not people. I remember Roy would very often like vertigo, take a ramp on his own, kind of sneak up there. You guys do some kind of utility like fake, but it would look structured and slow. And you'd throw in all of these like all in rounds as well, where you take a ramp fast. But it didn't look like, oh, this is just five people running around with full freedom.
Mm. Yeah, like, I think when I say freedom, it's mostly like I really wanted to make an environment where people don't feel like they are scared to make mistakes. Because
Mm,
if you're scared to make a mistake, then you will not grab the opportunity when it's there, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of like how we actually played, uh, I think that was always an idea behind the madness. It was controlled chaos in a way, and yeah, I think that's also what made us somewhat unique. Um, Also, like one of my favorite ideals at the time was art, so that's probably something,
ah,
probably something to do with it.
art. Interesting, because I'm gonna bring you. I'm gonna bring this. I'm gonna show you this on Discord because if you turn your attention to Discord, I'm gonna share the screen. My editor will be able to add this in nicely. Let me boomer mode do this. How do I do this? I just share my whole screen, entire screen. There we go. So if I stream this, look at this from 2021, HooXi. You
Oh
see
God,
this?
I remember this. And what about me, dude? Oh my God, look at this fucking stomach, dude. I'm so fat.
There's a bit I wanted to bring up here because there's a bit where you.
Jesus
I feel like
Christ.
you look so different to me, Banks, when I'm looking at
Yes,
this.
I know,
I
man.
don't know.
Glaive fanboy. This is what the Glaive fanboy part. This is beautiful.
So how
Bruh,
much does it
please never
hurt you
do that
right
to
now,
me again,
HooXi, to
though.
look at that
Holy
interview?
shit. Oh, that was disgusting.
I can't hear him.
No, I can't hear him either.
He's
I think he
muting
muted
himself.
I had to mute myself to watch the whole thing.
He was laughing.
I asked you, how much did it hurt you to watch that interview?
Oh,
In
so
your
much.
soul.
So much. I wanted to fucking leave. Like, I was scrolling down like this.
Podcast over.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy.
But
Look
you
at
were
my.
a Glaive fanboy.
Yeah,
That's
I've
what you
always
said.
been. I still am.
Yeah. So
I
Glaive and
thought,
art. Very polarizing styles and differences here.
like, the thing is, okay, when I went from Sivnex being my biggest idol, the next one was Glaive.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
and yeah, I think like he's like the main idol for me. And then obviously there's you know, there's like smaller ones on under that. There's like Kerrigan, I think, is crazy good, and I also watch a lot of him. And art is like more of a niche thing
Mm-hmm.
where I just really liked like how he played, and I think that's where my individual aggressiveness comes from. That I like to take space and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, but obviously felt good in that interview. I just beat him, so
that was a big one. And just talk to me, right? Being at that major, your first major, it's in Stockholm after the whole COVID situation. We're just coming back onto it all. What
mm,
was that whole thing like for you guys? Because it looked like a Cinderella story that was about to happen, and we'll come on to what happened a bit later. But obviously, we were very hyped about what we saw from you guys then. Everyone was.
yeah. Um, I don't know. I felt it feels like it wasn't really real in a way.
Yeah.
You know, I went from just playing like HLTV cups all the time and grinding random online matches to playing against like, you know, literally my biggest idol and all those other good players as well. So yeah, I don't really know. Like it was just weird, and at the same time, like we got a lot of attention all of a sudden that I was not used to as well. That I didn't know how to deal with either. Like
Yeah.
because I was super proud of what we accomplished already. But then there's always this small group that wants to like take it away from you and say like, oh, they're
Of
just playing in
course.
hotel rooms and
Oh, that was it. I
maybe
remember that. Yeah.
you know, there was a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of excuses for how we won. And you know, at the time, as I said, it was my first time dealing with actually like other people's opinion in a way, because before it was
Yeah.
maybe like two comments about how we played, like nobody cared besides the two guys who bet all their money on it. So yeah.
A classic.
Yeah.
And look at the run you guys had, right? If we look at the challenger stage, so first major challenger stage, you beat Astralis 16-6 on overpass. You then
Hmm.
take down Big 16-11. This was when Sirison was like playing pretty much God mode at the time. And then you get another all Danish team, Heroic, for the best of three, and you go 3-0 to legend stage. Crazy overtime on overpass at the end as well. Oh, no, it didn't go to overtime. It nearly went to overtime, if I'm right.
Hmm.
Let me look. Yeah, you go 16-12 win on overpass in the end. This was
Yeah.
This was an impressive run. You didn't have a single easy game.
No. The heroic game was like they were really good at the time already. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I was just. I remember we were saying like we're not like inside the camp or whatever you want to call it. We were not scared of Astralis at all because we thought we were actually better individually.
Okay.
Uh, but obviously like it's still Astralis and it's still a best of
Yeah.
one and we are new and how are we going to react and like maybe we just become more passive because we are scared or whatever. So I was a bit nervous for that, um but yeah, I think we felt confident. And then against Big it was the same story. We just felt that they played very predictable compared to tier 2 opponents because they
Yeah.
played super structured, and I think we just had a good read on them in general. And then I think when we had to go against Heroic, we were kind of like, okay, this might be, this might be where the dream kind of not ends, but like at least like goes on a hold for a bit. But then somehow we beat them as well, and then
Yeah.
we were just
But it felt
crazily
like
happy
you were
after.
playing even a level above what you've been grinding online at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah, I definitely think that we grew with the task of like playing. We kind of played to the level of our opponent, and I also think that you know maybe instead of like getting nervous in a bad way, we were just excited to be there. Like we felt no bad pressure in a way. We just only felt like the good pressure, that we could
Yeah.
only exceed expectations in a way. So yeah, that was the good thing about playing on Flames. There was never like expectations at all. It was just like every time we did something good, it was amazing, and every time we did something bad, it was just like, yeah, okay, whatever.
It was an easy one to get through. And then
Yeah.
we'll take you into the legend stage from there. Tell me, did it change in terms of pressure and expectations on yourself going through them stages, or did it feel like the same? Because obviously it was still same setup, same hotel, we were locked in because of COVID anyway. Um, Everyone was always together, but obviously the opposition on paper gets a lot harder. Did you notice a
Hmm.
difference in the team? Did you notice a difference in how you guys approached it?
Uh, no, I think the only difference was that we came into the tournament kind of doubting ourselves, like, do we have what it takes? And then you go
Yeah.
3-0, and then you're not in doubt anymore. Like then you think, okay, we deserve to be here. We have what it takes, and then you just have a completely different level of confidence. But I think that was like the main thing that changed. Besides that, I don't think that there was not any like bad changes or like any developing nerves or anything. So yeah, I
And then
think it was only good.
And even on the Legends run, I don't know, Devil, if you got the Legends run up here at the moment, because like you start off against G2, 16-11, it's a close game. No shame in
Mm.
losing to G2 with where you're at there. Then you face EG. They were kind of a bit of a meme team at that time. I'll be honest. That wasn't very serious
Yeah.
EG time. You rolled over them 16-2. Then you
Yeah, that
play
felt good.
FaZe. You beat FaZe 16-6. This was FaZe, by the way, 2021 with Twist, Brokey, Rain, Olaf, and Karrigan.
Yep.
That must have been like, was that like a big, maybe the biggest win for you guys at that time? Or did the heroic one still mean
Uh,
more?
I think it was two different wins, but I don't know like
Okay.
where to put them on in terms of like that scale. Um, the first of all, the G2 thing, like we were really confident because we already beat them once
Mm,
in the qualifier for the major. We went 5-0 in groups,
Yeah.
and G2 were one of the teams I remember. Um, and then FaZe, it was kind of funny. We like Roy is a kind of guy who has a set routine a lot for himself. Like he likes to play his DM, he likes to like do the same thing before playing and
yeah.
stuff like this. Against FaZe, he just woke up like way too late. He overslept. He just came down, plugged in his gear, and then he smashed FaZe. I don't know how. And it was
So
the
actually, he
funniest
didn't
thing
need his
ever.
routine.
Yeah, it was the funniest thing ever. Like it was just
Oh,
a
you hit
complete live game.
1.90.
Yeah, he
1.90 rating.
but the rest of us didn't have to play at all. He was taking cave every round, and he was just killing three guys on B, and I don't know how, but it was so
Wow.
funny. Uh, and then yeah, the EG game obviously there's not much to say. As you
No.
said, they were in horrible form, and we were like we had full momentum. So yeah, We were obviously not happy with losing to G2, so we kind of wanted to show what we were made of in that game, and
Yeah.
I think we did as well.
And then you get a rematch to potentially qualify through to playoffs, and you play
Mhm.
Heroic. This
Yeah.
time they are able to get the better of you. What was in
Yeah.
that game? Do you remember? Like, what did it come down to for you guys?
I don't remember too. I remember we played Nuke against them, and they played super solid. And we were
Yeah.
like impressed how they played. And
Okay.
we were just like, after the first map, we just said, okay, hands down, they were just a better team. Like, there's not much to
Yeah.
talk about. Let's just focus on the next one. And then I don't remember the next one.
Was
Ancient.
Ancient 16-13 to you? Your pick.
I think, okay, so at this time, I think Ancient was still like kind of a new map like Train is now, but we
Mhm.
played it a ton online. Like, we had like 60 maps played or something on Ancient.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I think that was an obvious pick from us, and we should win it. And then
Overpass
Overpass
is
has to be
starting
the
now.
last one, yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't remember the difference between the two games because we played them twice on Overpass, I think.
Mhm.
They
But
started off with an 8-7 T side against you.
yeah, so then obviously it's rough if they get that many T rounds. So then
Yeah, that's GG at that
uh,
point on Overpass.
yeah, yeah, I could imagine that that was the whole thing then, because like I remember our city side was solid, but our T side against like tier 1 teams was not the best. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's probably just we kind of lost the surprise factor when we already played them once, which
Yeah.
is just a huge advantage in the first game. And then in the second game, I always think the team that loses, if you get a rematch, they always have the upper hand because they have so many more things that they can adjust, where like you won
Mhm.
and you're kind of like, okay, this worked, but will
Yeah,
it
but
work again?
as
And
the winner is like, what do you change?
yeah,
What
do you
parts
want
are
to
you gonna
change
change? Yeah, do you want to change? It worked.
because it worked, but at the same time, like, will they change? And like, there's a bunch of mind games, and yeah, I
and
think it
then
made sense.
it's the I guess the most painful one
Yeah, this must have been a real
because
heartbreaker.
this NIP one obviously was NIP with the academy player LNZ in. I'm sorry, HooXi, to take you through this. This is the bad part we got to go through
No, but
because
it's fine. I've been through this with
oh
Astralis because Device is still mocking me with
oh
this
no
game.
way,
Oh
no
no!
Yeah,
way,
yeah, it's all good.
no way. And this
Yep.
is if I'm remembering the timeline correctly, this is where Device was going for his own personal issues. So like he wasn't fully switched on because of stuff that was being made public at the time. And then it was a very up and down ninjas because LNZ was there standing in.
Hmm.
And you beat him on Nuke on the first map,
Yep.
16-10. You lose Inferno 16-13. Probably a chance in there to win it.
Should have never lost that game, by the way.
Yeah.
We were up so much. We had so many chances to win rounds as well, and we just
10-5 CT side
choked.
start for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's the ancient that goes to I don't know how many overtimes this is. I can't
It's
work
what
out overtimes now. What just one
I think
overtime
it's
in
I
the
one
think
end.
it's only
overtime.
one. I think it's only
Just
one.
one.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a miracle we even got it to overtime in the end, I think.
And
Um,
this must have been painful because you were so close, you fought so hard against everyone, and to lose to these guys in that way.
yeah.
Oof.
No, I've only tried one thing that was worse in CS. Um, so yeah, it was horrible. But till this day, we are still trolling about that we don't know how to smoke long on Ancient, and we lose to LNC with like a P250 or some bullshit.
Oh,
Um, he was the big hero of that game for them.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, there's not much to say. I think we just couldn't handle the pressure.
It was a lot.
Because if we were an experienced team and we had been through that like even once, we would have closed it out 2-0.
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure. Um,
I I just
yeah,
remember there was so much. Obviously, at this point, right, you're the last games to qualify, so there's no other games going on. There's all attention cameras, everyone, everywhere.
yeah.
As soon as you finish, I remember at this time. I don't know if you still are, but you were smoking outside when
A
I
lot.
came to see you. Yeah, even I was smoking back then. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how long ago this was. And I remember seeing you, and I gave you a hug, and we were talking. But you were
Hmm.
you were beating yourself up badly, man. You put
Well,
a lot of you. I was like,
for
But
I was
good
worried
reason.
about you. I was
it
so
must it
worried
must
about
have
you.
been a blessing in disguise to have this kind of inferno for you as an in-game leader, because I can imagine how this played out. You know, you have that
Yeah.
10-5 lead, and the rounds just go so quickly on the T side because you're
Mm,
trying to find that winning round,
yeah.
and all of a sudden it's equal. You know?
Yeah, I think it was like it was a good experience for everyone. Like looking back, because it was not obviously like for me it was about finding the right plan, and for the players it was about taking the right risks at the right time and not being scared, but at the same time not being foolish and like going for everything. Um, so yeah, no, that was just it was a horrible experience, but it was it had to happen in a
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
for us to develop, and I think like my biggest memory for that ancient is that I was super surprised about Siphon how he stepped up because he was kind of like the he was the least experienced player for sure on our team,
Mhm.
even though we didn't have much at all. But on that ancient, he stepped up massively. Like he was pushing a main at the right timing and like taking these huge risks, and I think that showed some character for him.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's a
And
good one
then
though.
from here, right? Obviously, you go from this peak of all the hype of the major. You're out. You're eliminated from the tournament. How I still, by the way, I had to do the announcing for this, so I still to this day have no idea how you guys became the show match team. Like, what the fuck were we doing? Like, oh yep. So they didn't make it, but they get to play on the stage, and we'll put them
I
against
feel
some
like
like,
everyone was so impressed by how they played and how they everyone wanted to see them kind of at least get the stage game.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I think everyone just kind of fell in love with our team at the tournament, and everyone loves an underdog story. So I think that was like a nice touch by the tournament organizer to let us try and play on stage as well, just to kind
that was
of
your
feel
first
the whole thing.
stage, though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
and
real
dude,
stage.
yeah, real stuff. I'm talking about a big, but like that's what's crazy about this is probably an experience thing. Nice for you because if you remember, we had not had lands and we had not had crowds or arenas. So
Mm.
like Stockholm was the first time we had a crowd and we had barriers up because there was just so many people
Oh, it was sick.
inside that arena. And
Yeah,
like, by the way, this is one of my first times doing stage hosting. PGL for some reason just took me out of like hosting and were like, yeah, you can do a stage. So I'd gone on stage to do this bit and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, let alone what it was like for you guys, even if it was just a show match. And you
yeah.
got some good cheers. There was a lot of support for you guys.
Oh, it was fun. It was super fun. And like a cheap, easy way to kind of get the feeling of how everything like feels and sounds and stuff like
Yeah.
this. So I think it was just like a free experience, so to say. And also one thing we didn't touch on in terms of like the whole pressure thing. Now that I
Mm.
just remember, like one thing is like qualifying for playoffs of a major, but this was the one freaking major where they only gave personal stickers to the playoff teams. So I didn't get my
Oh
first sticker
yeah.
either.
Oh yeah, no.
None of us got our first sticker, and we were so devastated about that as well because that was like a main goal for me as
Yeah,
well
there was all
to
that
kind
drama
of
about it because it was obviously it
yeah,
was different times. It was the COVID times, right? So we didn't do it in this. Oh my god.
yeah. So that felt super bad, like extra bad.
One step away, could have had your first sticker in,
uh,
especially with how much money Stockholm stickers. I don't actually. I'm making this worse for you. Stockholm didn't make any money. Hooksy. No one,
no,
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 no
that
one got
was.
paid from this. No one did well.
No, but
But
honestly, I didn't even think one bit about the money at the time either. Like even though I
you just
knew the
wanted the sticker in.
numbers, yeah, I just wanted like
Yeah,
to kind of put myself in the history books in that regard, like to
yeah,
immortalize myself or whatever we want to call it.
yeah. That's correct. That's definitely correct. And what's interesting, right, is I wouldn't say it's a fall off, but I want to understand how hard it was for you guys to go from being in this situation and being one step away, the major ends, and then you go back, and
Mm,
obviously you're not part of the blast circuit, you're not part of the ESL circuit, so you're now back to that online grind, trying to qualify for things. Like,
yeah.
how difficult is that for the team and for you as the leader to have this mental change and reset?
Oh, it was. next to impossible, I would say.
Yeah.
Because we, even through the online grind, we kind of just went up and up, playing like, first we were playing the smaller online tournaments, then the bigger ones. Then we
Hmm.
went from group stage to playoff. Then we won one, and then like then we got to the lands, and then we got to the major, and everything was just always up and up and up, and it was getting more and more exciting. And then you kind of, all of a sudden, you just get like a smash in the face, and you go back to,
Back
I
down.
don't know, 9 to
Yeah.
5. And yeah, that obviously felt uh, super bad, and it was hard to get hyped for a group stage match in 9 to
Yeah.
5 or something. And like, we still had a young team in general, so it's not like we had the experience to just reset. And
Yeah.
you know that's also one of the reasons why I still to this day respect the Gambit, the youngsters guys, so much, because like that's probably something they would be able to do that we
Mm.
didn't. um and then I think like a small touch was also that people probably, there was probably more eyes on us than before, and
Yeah.
people kind of figured out a little bit better how we played and what to do against us. So yeah, there was a bunch of things that made sure that it didn't go as planned. But there was also a lot of like fuss around the team with like switching organizations. We had this whole uh,
Yeah.
deal with complexity that fell through, and
Well,
all
the
this stuff.
last hurdle, right?
Yeah. So that was a bunch of things, but I think we, like, we could have done more, but it's not like I feel like I could have done a lot that I didn't do.
And if I'm right, you at this point you don't have, right, because it's still Copenhagen Flames. Like you don't have the same amount of, say, analyst help or like extra support from the organization.
No, no, no. We had we were just five guys, and then we had Wobo as coach, who was like, or he was like manager,
He did
coach,
everything.
whatever,
Yeah.
something. And then we had Peter for like up until Stockholm, but I can't actually remember when he left. He left for Dignitas at some point.
Hmm.
And when he left, it obviously got even worse with the workload. So yeah, um, didn't help. But again, we just got the best out of what we had to work with.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, you know, consistently, even when you look at this team and especially that team, it felt like you, especially that's during the time I heard good things about you from Farlig, etc. It felt like you got a lot out of the team.
Mm,
Even, you know, if you look at the players now, everyone will say that they had a great team, you know, but back then
yeah.
that's not really the view before you guys came up to it, right? It wasn't like you had a superstar team at the time.
Mm,
And you still got, I think, I can't remember exact rankings you got to, but I think you were like around top 10 in the world at some point.
yeah. I can't remember either what the exact number was, but it was something like 8 or 9. We got to at our peak.
Yeah,
So
which is obviously a huge achievement
yeah, that's a
for,
crazy milestone.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
An impressive
So
one.
I kind of want to ask you and maybe let you maybe even market yourself a little bit with like what are the qualities that you bring in a team that you make you, you know, obviously we've seen it in recent times with Astana. We'll come to that as well. But
Hmm.
like, what are some of the qualities that you find important that you can be proud that you have brought into teams and feels make a difference?
Yeah, like now it's obviously over a bunch of years, so I think
Yeah,
my skills also developed throughout the time. I think in Copenhagen Flames, I just think my biggest quality was like my work ethic and how much time I
Yeah.
actually put into the whole thing. Um, and like, it was not only like preparing for practice, it was also like trying to develop myself as a player, and trying to, like, outside of practice, help the other guys with like watching their games and talk about CS a lot. Just randomly talk about CS. It does so much more than people think,
yeah,
Hmm.
especially with like young unexperienced guys, so they kind of get through the situations in their heads. So I think that was what I was bringing to that Flames lineup, and then I just watched a ton of CS, so I also understood the meta really well, and yeah, I think that was like mainly the pros for me, and then the cons was obviously like I was still like young and a really bad loser, so like you could see when I lost in Stockholm, I was completely out of it. But yeah, um, so I think like what I've developed since then, obviously a bunch of things. I think I'm a way better player individually, even though uh, what people might say, I think like just the fact that I still can compete shows that I developed.
Yeah,
And then um, I think I learned so much in G2 now. Like I don't even know where to start in terms of how to call better, how to keep my emotions and the team's emotions in control, when
mhm.
to do the right things. And I still have the same work ethic that I had when I was in Flames. So
That's amazing,
um,
by the way, to keep that work ethic for this long.
yeah,
That's not many people do that. Not many of all the pros I speak to, and
yeah.
especially IGLs and stuff, they easily get burnt out with that.
Yeah, it is tough sometimes, but I think if you just love the game, like I think a guy like Monesi, for example, he will be the same. Like,
Yeah.
when he's 30, he will still play 140 hours of Faceit, I'm pretty sure. So yeah,
So you don't
that's
have any
just
special secret. This is how what you do to relax, to get out of it, to
no.
refresh your mind.
No, I think relaxing is like my biggest flaw. I don't know how to relax. I'm so bad at it, and I don't know. The thing is, I don't know when to do it. That's like my main problem. I don't get this. I don't get this feeling of like,
There's
okay,
not a switch
now,
off.
yeah, the switch is there, but like when the switch is off, I'm done. Like I'm fully blacked out, and like I never get this tingling feeling of like, okay, maybe it's time to just go to bed now instead of playing like
Yeah.
the extra hour or whatever. So
And
definitely
sometimes you
think
need to sleep.
I think that's something I just have to like. I've gotten better at it,
Good.
but I still don't think I'm quite there yet.
Do you know what's crazy when we come to the next part of this Flames journey? Because you kept the same team
Hmm.
and you go into the Antwerp major. Now
Yeah.
you'd had like we've gone through this ups and downs, right?
Mhm.
And people obviously probably would have wrote you off coming into the major just because they'd look at your previous online results, you know? They'd say, oh, look, they're not going to do well here. Well,
Yeah.
you get into, what is it? You're in the RMR Group B. You
Hmm.
play Sprout, Sinners, NIP,
Yeah.
and you go 3-0 and straight to Legends this time.
Yeah.
Where
Oh,
the hell did that come from? Because even I, who obviously we spoke back in Stockholm, we'd seen what results you're coming into this. I was thinking, they might qualify. They've got the potential to qualify, but not go 3-0 in the way you guys did.
I think that we had like in general all the online games. I just put on the fact that our mentality was not good enough, and
Okay.
it was too hard for us to reset and actually like you know come into those games with enough like passion in a way. And then when we went to Katowice before the major, like it was some time before the major.
Hmm.
I thought that I would see the team that played at the Stockholm major, but like there was some glimpses of it, but it was still not there at all. And then I just had a meltdown at the tournament. I told the guys like, if this is how it's going to be, you can fuck off or I will leave. Up to you. Either that or we change. Like we change mentality, we change how much we work, how we do things,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of got got to people, and we just stepped up from that point. And uh, yeah, after that, obviously we started to do a little bit better online as well. And then when we came to the Armar or whatever it was called, was it
Yeah,
Armar?
it's the RMR at that point. Yeah.
Okay,
So
well,
we'd gone back to almost a normal world outside of COVID, and this was Europe RMR B
yeah,
that you guys
I,
were
f-
in.
I think that we got some really lucky teams to play against, because I think we started out with Sprout, that they played with Coach, they played with Barry, I think, which was obviously
Holy shit.
like
Yep,
somewhat
you're
of a
correct.
free win when you play a team with a coach. And then Sinners we knew very well from online, so it was not like a new
Yeah.
opponent, and we felt confident against them. And then NIP, I think they were still in this limbo of like what to do, and
Hmm.
yeah, we also just played a good game, and then we got some good maps as well in the best of 3, and it was just a done deal.
For people who might not remember this as well, I want to just say the other teams that were in Group B of this RMR was like G2, Astralis, Spirit, the B&E boys were there. Who else we've got that's notable? Players, which obviously was the Gambit roster. Obviously, this after the
Mm.
war started, a name change and all that stuff that came with it. And it was you and Gambit that came through in the 3-0 category. Did you feel like,
Mm.
okay, we're back? This is the team that's playing how I expect us to play?
Maybe not fully, but it definitely gave some confidence on
Mm,
in that regard. So yeah, I think we were just on the right track at least.
more than the right track.
Well,
And then that takes us into actually the legend stage because you get to skip challenger stage. What did you do in between, by the way, at that point? Because obviously, I'm guessing you don't have as much budget as some of the other teams. I'm hoping
yeah.
maybe after Stockholm major, you got a salary increase in some way. But I mean, you're not like other teams would go full boot camp mode, full preparation, full ready. What was it like for Flames?
Uh, I don't remember what we did between. Honestly, I think we just played. Um, and in terms of like salary increase, no, there was no money for that. I think we had in terms of like sticker money and prize money and stuff like this. I think we had probably the best deal in the whole scene because Copenhagen Flames knew as well that like we were too high on the ranking to justify our salary, and
Hmm.
they are also just really good people, so they wanted to make it as fair as possible with what they had. So yeah, nothing much changed, but from the first major, I knew like we didn't even have stickers in our contracts because
Oh wow.
nobody expected us to do anything.
So wait,
So
so what happened then if you didn't have stickers in your contract? How was it done on the first one? Did you get nothing from the Stockholm
no, we
sales?
we got a lot. we
Oh,
just
okay,
talked.
good, good.
We just we just talked to Copenhagen Flames like, what do we
Yeah,
do? And then they said, well, the most logical thing to do would probably just give you the same percentage as you have in prize money, which was like a really good deal
oh
because
damn.
for the most part, like people get,
I mean, the normal one
yeah,
was like 80-20 or 85-15 or something like that between players in order to prize money, I think, back in those days.
yeah, like I would say like most players probably get like 12 to 15% prize money, and at that time probably like between 8 and 12% sticker. So to get that was just like obviously like a huge appreciation uh, shown by Flames to us for the achievement,
Yeah.
and yeah.
Is that when you started looking for apartments on the phone? Or
Nah. I had to see the money get on the account before I
yeah,
believed
okay.
it.
Is this real? It's there.
uh, no, I obviously
Oh
told
man.
some of my family like how much money we made, and they were just like, "What are you talking about? Like from playing PC?" What?
Can I ask, do you have to pay tax in Denmark on sticker money?
Yes, you have to pay taxes for
Oh
everything in Denmark.
no.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah, yeah.
no. There's some great countries, by the way, that have this rule that like prize money and like that sticker money, if it's not part of your salary, you don't pay tax on it. It's like comes under another tax category that you don't get taxed.
Oh, that would be
Obviously, you
lovely.
Scandinavians just get screwed
not
in
not
everything.
not for us.
Oh, it would be lovely, but it's not. That's not how it
Oh,
works, unfortunately.
but still, it was a very good time. That's something to
Yeah.
be hugely positive about. Then we
Mm.
come to let's come to your legend stage run. You get B&E in the first game. This is before you were coaching, right, DW?
Yes. I
Yeah,
was
cool. So,
actually an analyst at this event.
oh yeah, you were working with us. You were
Yeah.
broadcast talent, Devilwalk at that time. He's done it all.
Yeah, I think
So,
if you're fishing for a time where we beat him, it was probably the qualifier for Stockholm, right?
Yes. It was
Yeah,
the IEM fall when it was like categorized in different events.
yeah,
oh yeah, so he
And
got
you went
points.
5-0 in that.
yeah.
And you beat us, I think, 16-12 on Vertigo, maybe?
Vertigo or Nuke? I can't remember now.
He
I
got
should be
revenge for
able
you
to.
stealing Farley
Could
from him.
it could have been
It was Vertigo. It was Vertigo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was
I
Farley on
Uh,
your team then, Devilwalk, or not?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was. He was.
Oh,
That
that's
was like
right. He wanted. He was
that
like,
was
"You're my
He
boy."
went straight to their room after.
that was a big motivator.
I made the wrong choice, he says in his mind.
We were in complete chaos that event. I remember. We even lost. We had like a 3-way draw for who would qualify for the major
Yeah.
with Mouse Sports and Big.
Mhm.
And it was such a weird system. You played like overtime straight on against teams, and whoever won like kind of went up, and you played like just connected to a new server, played
Oh
overtime against
yeah,
Mouse, or
Yeah.
it
yeah. That
was
was such a
so weird.
stupid
It
rule.
was so weird to prepare
That's
for.
crazy.
Like,
You can't prepare for that. Don't worry.
yeah, we were kind of shell shocked, and we lost eventually. But we had previously beaten Mouse and lost to Big, and Big had but it was just a 3-way tie in that sense.
That's awful. That's actually awful.
Yeah.
Look, for the Flames side, you beat BNE for your 1-0 game. Then you face Ents, you beat them as well. This is Ents with like Deha, Spink, Snappy, Hades, Madden.
This was
And
the good ends.
yeah,
The good
then
ends,
you
yeah.
go then you go up against Spirit.
Mhm.
You win Vertigo, Mirage, Ancient, not going your way at all. This is when Dexter was having like an insane performance overall for the whole major. I remember him even doing well on stage. They
Yeah.
go 3-0. And then this is where it starts to get, I guess, a little bit worrying because you lose the phase, right?
Yeah.
There was definitely a chance you could have won that Ancient. Nuke you got bombed out on.
Mhm.
And then you're back in that position once again, but you have more experience as a team. You're in the 2-2 to make
Yeah.
it to playoffs. And you
Yeah.
play Imperial of all teams. Just to tell people this, the
Oh, I
lineup of
remember
Imperial.
everyone was watching this game,
Dude,
man.
we were downstairs, HooXi, yeah. So like, I wasn't even working. We're all just waiting to see what happens. It's like the last game, and I mean, there's a lot of Brazilian people here. We're in the hotel lobby bit downstairs, and people are drinking. There's this big TV set up, and you're on bloody. This is Vinny, Bolts, Fur, Fallen, and FNX. Most of these players don't play anymore. Like Fur, Bolts, and
Yeah.
FNX all retired. Yeah. Should have
Yeah.
probably been retired at that point, maybe, people would
Yeah.
say. And it goes, you smash them 16-2 on Inferno.
Everyone
Then
says it's
Vertigo.
over.
Yeah, it's like, it's like they're going to playoffs, no
Everyone
problem
starts
at all.
playing ping pong again down in the lobby. You know,
We're all
like
chilling,
Copenhagen
full
Flames
chilling.
got this.
Devilwalk's only
Yeah.
on his first beer after the first map. By the time we get to this game, right, and we're on the Vertigo, how many overtimes was this? I don't even know. I can't do maths anymore. We had 1, 2,
I think it was only 2.
two
Right.
overtime. Two overtime. So you
Yeah.
got 2 overtimes in there. You're fighting for the life and getting to playoffs and going through 2-0. You do manage to get the win, but in just one map, Devilwalk had 4 more beers. That's how bad
But
this has got.
But it was also like it felt like you were under control. They obviously won like second pistol. And then you got 3 rounds in a row. And it just felt like, okay, it's 12-8. Copenhagen Flames gonna close this out now.
Yeah.
And it just felt impossible. It was one of these like I can even view the rounds, I feel like, in my head right now.
Yeah.
Where
Nah,
I
it was
think like
horrible.
they just lurked out like mid and got in window and killed you B players, and it was just this amazingly like almost shocking rounds
Yeah.
where they just snuck past your defense in some weird way.
Yeah, but I don't know what to say about that game. I remember so clearly we were smashing them on Inferno, and even knifed the guy. I remember, and I was thinking to myself, okay, that was probably a bad idea because like knifing a Brazilian that can only go badly for you. But then okay, focus for the next map. We go up a lot on T. I can't remember exactly how much, but we were like
9-3.
in full. Okay, yeah, we were in full control. I remember, and we were just smashing them. We already won like 16-2, and now we're up 9-3 on a map that you feel confident on. Then obviously uh, you kind of start to get overconfident.
Mm-hmm.
But we just kept reminding ourselves like we just need to close it out. We just need to like play like we usually do. Blah blah blah. Then on CT, we lost so many unlosable rounds. Like I have no clue how we managed to even throw them, and so many crazy things happened as well. Like as you said, like random timing in mid that so he kills both B players and the round is just over in an instant.
Yeah.
Like you feel like you have the control, and then all of a sudden it's just GG. Um, but yeah,
Was there at any point in this game, like when you're on that CT side, right, and they just keep picking 3 rounds up in a row, you win one, you get money, fucked, and they just start grinding their way back? Did the
mm,
panic set in where you just see frustrations around?
yes. Well, I think that's.
Yes.
I think you can't you can't escape like panic and frustration at that point. I think we had so many experiences now at the time that was kind of what got us over the hump in terms of having these like high intense matches. We had obviously the one against NIP we already talked about in Stockholm, but even before that we had a similar situation qualifying for Stockholm against can't remember what the name was, the team name, but it was against those Bulgarian guys with Dreamer and
Yeah.
Bubble and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Was it
And
Windigo? That no.
yeah,
Might have been
yeah,
Windigo.
it was probably Windigo, yeah. But there was like an Inferno third map about going to your first major, and it was I want to say 3 or 4 overtimes. So I just got flashbacks to that basically, and I think because we went through so many of those situations, that was what kind of helped us getting the win in the end against these guys. But yeah. But
That was
this major was crazy in general because as I said already, like I was really bad at handling roster changes because I kind of felt like my teammates were family to an extent. Like I
yeah.
really had a close connection with all my teammates always, and we got told, I think the day before we had to play the first match at the major, that Roy and Nikodos were out of the team and they were going to Fnatic. So
Oh,
I just said instantly like, "Fuck this major then,
wow.
whatever." Like I was full tilt.
Oh.
So yeah, um,
But why would anyone tell you that before the major? Like, this is the thing I don't
That's
understand
the
about some
worst.
organizations. Some management are just like robotic morons because they don't have any emotional factor. The amount of times we hear about news like, oh, he was told before, what? So you just wanted to throw any chance they had? Like, there is nothing wrong with just holding that information back.
yeah. No, the explanation I got was that I'm really good friends with Roy, and I talked to him before that there was a chance that they would go to Fnatic.
Mhm.
And I apparently handled it in such a nice way that they thought that I would be able to handle it before
That
the
it would be
tournament,
fine.
that it would be
So
final.
was it the management that told you, or was it the players themselves that told you?
It was Vobo who was our coach at the time,
Okay.
Basically,
who kind
manager,
of
coach.
manager, coach, everything. He
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
the everything man. But yeah, I also told him like literally straight after he told me, I said, "This is the worst decision you've ever made. Like you usually take good decisions, but this one is probably the worst you've ever made." Like it was so bad for my mental. It was crazy.
Yeah,
But they,
I'm gonna say I'm not a coach. Yeah, I've just about been a manager, but I'm holding that information until the very last moment. Even if you hear the rumors, I'll be like, no, no, no. Just play the fucking game.
yeah,
Go do what you gotta do. Keep the mental strong.
yeah, I think maybe that's what he wanted to, you know,
Oh
get.
god.
He wanted to get ahead of like rumors and stuff, so we wouldn't like read it online or whatever. And I get that. Like maybe it wasn't as
Mm,
bad as I see it,
mm. No, I'm with you, Hooksy. I see it your
I
way.
was definitely not ready for that news that it was
No,
final. But
no.
and I
No,
don't
but
think
I think
Siphon
also
and Yabi was either.
every player kind of wants to, even if it happens to be true, they don't want to hear about it right now. It's like a future problem. You don't
Yeah,
want it in your head. So
yeah,
some
exactly.
people might say it's nice to give you the news straightforward or something like that, but I don't think you really care about it at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Damn.
I remember Yavi was saying after, like, okay, that's it, my career's over, GG.
No.
And I was like, yeah, mine too.
Oh.
It's okay.
Oh,
It
dude,
was a good run.
just
Yeah,
hearing that makes it feel worse as well.
yeah.
But you did it. You made playoffs, right? Even
I
with
have
all
no
this, what you've
clue.
just said going on,
I have no clue
that's
how.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I know, like, just that moment must feel amazing. But your first playoff game against Ents,
Mm.
tell me, was this a factor of not being ready for the stage? Was this you guys not playing up to standard? Because some people will try and say like, yeah, it's the stage, the pressure. Like, how was it for you being the one sat there having to do it? I remember doing the intros for you guys. Like that was epic.
I think it was a mix of like the same thing as before, where we played ends already once
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we smashed them, and then I think they gained more from that matchup than we did. Like the
Mhm.
whole surprise
Was
factor
it the
is
same
gone.
map as well?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't
So the
remember.
first map you played Ancient on the best of one, and
Mm.
then for you
Okay,
played
Ancient was
Vertigo
third
and
map.
Nuke. You played Vertigo and Nuke when it came to the best of three.
Yeah, that was probably the
Your pick,
whole.
Vertigo.
That was probably the whole idea behind it. That, or maybe we just couldn't get Vertigo for the best of one. I don't know. I can't remember. But basically, the whole surprise factor I think is gone a little bit, and they
Mhm.
just get to like change a few things, and also on paper they were just a better team as well.
And
We were not supposed to beat them, so I think they also just showed more quality. And then for me, like that was my first like stage game and my first major playoff game. I felt like you could snap with your fingers and the game was over. It was so quick, and it felt like a completely different game. And I didn't know any tricks to play like on the stage with like uh, people throw AGs to listen to where the other team is if the camera's on them and stuff like this. I had no clue about all these things. Or I knew them, but I have never tried to use them. So it's just like
yeah,
I didn't want to get into my own head and like try to change something because we are on stage. I just wanted to play our game and see how it was.
it
So yeah.
felt like you had a pretty similar map pool as well. Both were pretty good on Vertigo, if I don't
Mm,
misremember. Like
yeah,
both liked
probably.
picking it, and it ended up you picking Vertigo as well. So they probably had an advantage in the best of three veto.
Yeah, we definitely like I don't remember exactly, but we definitely didn't have like a free win on a map,
Yeah,
which obviously would have been nice. And I also just think that like us as a team, we were we were really good at this system of playing best of ones because we were really good, like super solid on 4 maps, and then we had like 2 maps that were pretty weak, and then obviously our permaban. So getting into best of threes, it would just naturally be tougher for us to win. So, but yeah, I think that was still exceeding all expectations.
Yeah,
Getting to
again,
that. Yeah.
again, and that's what's impressive about this, right? Is the way you guys were able to do it. But then, obviously,
but you got that first
after,
stage match finally,
Hmm.
like the real one.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, not a show match.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was nice.
But then afterwards, right? Obviously, you said the players go to Fnatic. Then you end up on the bench again.
For a little bit.
What happened?
Well, it was just like there was one tournament left before the player break,
Yeah.
and I think that Nico and Roy they were like the most obvious stars of the team, so it made sense they
Hmm.
would get the offer first, and we had to wait a bit in line to see what would come our way. Um, so yeah, I wasn't really that surprised. I was just bummed out that I missed Cologne, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. And then obviously the G2 offer starts to come up, right?
Hmm.
Now, this one, was that one you expected to come knocking? Was that completely out of left field? Like, was it oh my god, it's G2 kind of thing?
Oh, that was so unexpected. I never like expected anything like that to happen. I remember Wobo went to EG,
Yes, yeah.
and like I kinda expected an offer from them because obviously we knew that we worked together as a duo and
Hmm.
it could work. Um,
Thank God you
so
didn't go there. Jesus.
it was close. It was really close. But
You
then,
dodged a bullet, my friend. You dodged a huge bullet.
well, maybe it would have been different. Who knows?
Oh, you're a great leader, HooXi, but you're not saving yourself from that mental management that was there at the time. You would have never saved yourself from that. You
Ah,
dodged everything.
never say never, but I still think the right decision was made. And
Yeah,
just,
you could
exactly.
definitely say that.
Oh God.
um, but yeah, they just kind of came out of like left field, and then I had to put up the offers against each other. Like but I obviously wanted the best possible lineup, and G2 was obviously way better in that way. And then both of us went away for like a few days, and I was left with nothing for like 2 days,
What?
and I was shitting my
Yeah, I
pants.
mean, okay, so wait a second. Let me understand this then. You had an EG offer and
Yep,
a G2 offer. Any
yep.
others?
I think I had one more, but it was like nothing in the same tier. No.
Okay, so not on the same level of like
Yeah, yeah,
organization.
yeah.
How do they go from wanting you to then disappearing for a few days? How does that happen?
Well, I was obviously not the only guy who got an offer from G2 at the time. They had like multiple
Okay.
IGLs inside, and EG, like I was kind of like waiting for G2 and kind of holding EG a bit
Wait
to
here,
see.
might have a
Yeah,
better offer.
yeah, maybe, maybe I'll join, maybe not. And then I think they just didn't want to wait anymore, so they went with someone else. And
Mm.
then G2 was like, "Ah, we're not sure about this other guy," uh, and then there was like just radio silence for a few days, and it just looked really bad, and I was so scared that I was just left with nothing in the end. But then,
Oh, how horrible does that must feel?
oh, that was like that was like getting a fucking stroke at some point. So yeah, um, but I got back in the end to the original offer, so it was nice. It all ended well.
Before I go into the G2 arc of the Hooksy moments, the Giga Chad moments, everything else that came with it, do you think this would have happened the same way had Complexity taken your team? Do you think that's actually was a blessing in disguise if you guys didn't sign for Complexity? Because I imagine if you
Yeah,
signed for
yeah,
Complexity, they'd see higher buyouts.
yeah, yeah.
Probably you
It
wouldn't be
probably
able to have
wouldn't have
gone to.
happened.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, none of this would have happened. Like they would not have went to Fnatic, and Yabi would not go to Heroic, and like all this would never happen.
Wow. So it's
So
actually like at the time I know for you guys it was awful to not go to Complexity.
yeah,
Yeah, it was
yeah,
terrible.
it felt so bad.
But but actually this worked out to be a good thing for everyone.
Yeah, well, that's you know, if we did it on purpose, it would have been the biggest gamble in CS history, I think. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it ended up working out in our favor. But yeah, at the time it was really rough.
So G2 is not something you expected. Did you know any of the players before? Like who was the one who approached you first of all? How did this come together? Who said, "Hi HooXi, we're G2."
I think the first one I talked to was Jerome. He was the manager at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Nyack, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then I got to chat with Ixtas, the coach at the time,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think I clearly remember the first player who talked to me first was Honda. He is like the friendliest guy in the world, and he
Yeah.
wanted to like talk to me about like how to hold sides with me because he knew I would play the same spots or like on the same side as him on the maps. And yeah, I didn't know anyone at all, and it was my first international team, and like everything was a very overwhelming in a way because I
Yeah.
always had like somebody with me uh, in any team like I went to. I always had somebody who understood like how I thought or how I wanted to play or like how I was as a person, and now I just came in like
Someone you
completely
knew.
fresh. Yeah, so
Yeah.
and obviously it's my first time dealing with different cultures and everything. So that was a I
Completely
honestly,
non-Danish roster as well. You went
yeah,
into completely
yeah.
the opposite.
I, I don't know. I think it was not like more than a week into boot camp, or like even a few days into boot camp. I thought to myself, okay, maybe this was a bit too much for me. Like, yeah, it was really tough.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because let's set a scene for everyone to remember. This is August 2022, and
Mm,
the lineup is Nico, Hunter, Young Munacy, Baby Goat,
mm,
JKS, and HooXi with Xtaz as the coach.
yeah.
And so why did you have that feeling that this was maybe the wrong decision? Because on paper, this was like you've got the best players ever for your
Yeah.
career to do damage with, bro.
Yeah. But at the same time, you have the best players ever, and if you don't do well, you're the biggest failure ever, right? So, um, yeah, I don't know. It was just everything. Like I felt like I was not the same person in English as well. Like it's hard
Yeah.
to it's hard to like make jokes in English. It's hard to have fun in English compared to like you know, the sarcasm we use a lot in Danish and stuff like this, and
It's not. Yeah, it doesn't
um,
translate.
no, and I don't know. It was a completely different play style, and would people accept the way I wanted to play, and how do I deal with like big personalities and like all this stuff. And it was it that there was nothing bad to say about anyone in G2 because they welcomed me with open arms and they said like
Yeah.
you just bring your style and we believe in you and all this stuff. And it was all good,
Hmm.
but it was just a lot to take in. So yeah, a bit overwhelming.
Is this where maybe you started to feel the most pressure of your career because you this is not just a tier one team. This is a team that's supposed to win, and you had Nico Hunter was in form at the time, and
Hmm.
Munacy, who was supposed to be like he was supposed to be the next Simple, right? That's what everyone's mindset was. I
Hmm.
gave the baby goat name, and there we go. He was supposed to be the next thing.
Hmm. He was crazy good already back then. Insanely good. Um, yeah. Uh, no, this was definitely the most pressure, but that's
Mm,
I always like put pressure into two categories. That's like good and bad. Because the good
yeah,
pressure
Yeah.
is like in flames, like you're the underdog. There's still pressure because it's like the biggest moment of your life, and you play like your
yeah,
first major or whatever. But it's only good. Like you can only exceed expectations, and you only have yourself to play for and stuff like this. But when you go to G2, all of a sudden, like I was used to like logging into Twitter and Instagram and or actually not even I didn't even have an Instagram before I joined G2, but Twitter at least, and I was reading like all my DMs and replying to everyone,
Oh no! Oh
and
no!
and then I
HooXi,
and then I came to G2 and I was like, no, I can still do the same, and I spent the whole day replying to everyone. I had
bro,
like 10,000 messages or
bro.
something. It was crazy.
When did you stop
Um,
doing that? Hopefully, you learned your lesson very early on.
well, I tried to do it a little bit for like the first few weeks, I would
Wow.
say, but like after I spent a whole day doing it, I was like, but it's impossible, literally
Yeah.
impossible.
Must have been too
Um,
exhausting, man.
no, it was crazy. It was honestly crazy.
It's also going to
Uh,
eat away at like your positivity because some of the comments are great, but others definitely not so much.
at when I first joined, every single comment was great. There was not a single hate, I
Okay,
think, because everyone was
that's
just
good.
welcoming me and saying like
Yeah,
good
yeah,
luck
yeah.
and all this, and yeah, that was all good. It was mostly after we played that when the bets come in, that's where it goes wrong.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think uh, I think like just dealing with the bad pressure then of like having all these expectations and fans and everything. I also think we did like in Flames. I was used to like we had this mindset of like as long as we do the best we cannot like expect much more. And then it was more like of a feeling thing. Like, do you feel like you did what you could? And like, are
yeah.
you able to look yourself in the mirror after the game and say like, I put all eggs in one basket and I did everything I could. But
Yeah.
Hmm.
in G2, it was more like, okay, so we go to this tournament, first place or nothing. And it was like,
Yeah,
okay, we
yeah.
need we need to go playoff here. We need to go top three. We need to win. And I was not used to that.
That's
And
too
I also
much.
thought it was a bad way of dealing with it. Like a completely new team for me. I didn't know anyone, and then
Yeah.
like one of the first days at boot camp, we sit down and we talk expectations, like literally like placements at tournaments. Where I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea, but if that's how you usually do it, fine, we can try.
Did you have a mental coach at this point?
No, at least not at
Because
the
you
boot
got you
camp.
got you got Edwin like a little bit later, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think no, I don't think we had anyone connected to us at the time.
yeah. That's even crazier. So like it's your first real big team. You go into
Yeah.
these first few events and like last Premier full groups isn't bad, right? Fourth to six. EPL.
Whoa.
But it's I
But then,
know, I know. But it's your first event, you know? I think the expectations can still be tapered then. What were you
Well,
gonna say, Devil?
team
of
expectations.
course, I think you're gonna have like outside perspective. You're gonna get little tapered expectations. But I think if Hooks is sitting there and Nico and Monacy, they're all pointing at the number one spot.
Yeah.
You get this like team inward expectations because I mean, even back in Fnatic, we didn't even used to practice that much at the end of it when I was there. People just expected to win every single game. They weren't even happy if they won a game. They were only mad if they lost a game. to a certain point,
Oh no.
because that was the expectation, and it's not fun being in that scenario. I don't think for anyone that's in that scenario. So obviously, I could imagine a scenario, HooXi's first kind of big team, and he doesn't really probably haven't bonded that much with everyone yet before
Yeah.
going into your first tournament, and you have all of these expectations kind of mounting behind your back.
Yeah. Oh, that was definitely weird to deal with. But I just thought like that's just how it is, you know.
Yeah.
I can't really change it. That's just the mentality and the way we do things here. So, you know, give it a
But
shot, see how it
how
goes.
was it for you to like take charge, so to speak, like in your first time going into a big team? It's not people you have had like kind of friendships before, which is how it's been in the past
Mm.
for you, where you've always had some link where you could talk to
Um,
someone or fix things in that sense.
no, I think that uh, I don't know. It was tough to implement my playstyle at first because it's the first time I have to explain everything in English, and it's the
Yeah.
first time, as I
Yeah.
said, I didn't have anyone who already like understood it and could like help me. Like I didn't have Bobo or Roy or anyone that followed me my whole career. So it was hard already back then to kind of, you know, get people on the same page.
Yeah.
But in terms of like outside leadership, I think like even until the end, honestly, like Nico was more of a leader than me in that team. He is just that kind of guy as well. Like he always understands like what's best for the team, but still has his own shit under control. And yeah, I think that was not necessarily a bad thing either. Like I could be the in-game leader, but I think he was the out-game leader in a way.
Yeah.
He's the captain, right? That's why
Yeah,
I always say this personally is that some leaders are amazing at being the in-game leader, but
yeah,
they don't have the personality to
yeah,
be the captain directly. And there's other people who can do both. And there's some that there'll be two. And in your team, it always felt like you had in-game under control and
yeah,
he can assist in his voice, right? But he was a captain of team outside of it,
yeah.
the warrior, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's also tough. Like I was definitely not ready to be the leader when I joined.
Hmm.
But I think like 1 year or maybe a bit more into the project, I think I had the qualities to actually lead the team both in game and outside the game. But at that point, it's also just weird to change the
Yeah.
dynamics in the team.
Yeah.
So we kind of kept going with this whole thing of like I was the second voice in that sense. But
Hmm.
obviously in game on the T side, I was leading mostly, and I think Nico was also naturally like leading the CT side more because he has the spots that he has, right? So
Active. Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't really feel like it was a bad thing at all, honestly. But yeah, I get why people would make a fuss out of it.
Oh, they always do. They always do. But
Yeah,
I mentioned events, right? I said full groups, fourth to sixth. You said obviously it wasn't so good, but you still made it to the full finals, which is obviously the goal, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
for
not
sure.
that's not the end of the world.
Uh,
EPL top four.
no, that was all good.
That was
I
good.
think
Yeah.
the reason
It's
why
just go
I'm
on.
saying
Go.
no, no, the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying for the blast thing was just that that's obviously where the GigaChat meme was born. Like my individual level was, they were playing 4v5. Let's be real. at, at some point, I think it's against Big. After first half, I think Hunter had more kills than I had ADR.
Oh
I've never
no.
tried that before in my life. I
Oh
think I had
no.
23 ADR and he had 24 kills in one half.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Woo!
it was crazy.
Okay. I'm a
And
big HooXi fan and I always support you. I'm glad I never saw that stat line because even I can't defend that. That's
uh,
crazy.
yeah, and the whole thing was like I said to HLTV in an interview before we started playing that like I feel like with this team I can go out and not shoot
Not
anyone and we
suit.
can still win.
Yeah,
And then we
Oh
yeah.
won.
yeah, that was one of the early interviews.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And I
that was
was
a
right.
happy HooXi. He was saying all these words. Didn't know it was gonna be true.
No, but it was right. Like I was not trolling. Like
Oh,
I could just run around like a chicken, and we would still make it to full finals. So it's fine. And then I was super happy with the EPL one before because they had like some curse with like they couldn't get through the groups of EPL for some reason, and then we went 5
yeah.
0. So that was like obviously I was super
That
happy
was
about that.
yeah. By the way, that's when everyone started saying like the hype built at that point for you guys
Yeah,
because of the 5-0, because of breaking that curse. I remember it so well, and we were
yeah,
thinking, okay, now we're cooking. This is HooXi's G2. Happy
yeah.
days. Top 4 is very respectable.
And I think there was also like a big difference between the HooXi individually at the Blast event and then this one. I think
Yeah,
I actually played pretty decent in groups, and people were saying like if this is his actual level, then they can actually do damage.
yeah.
The only sour part about that EPL was that we were up, I think, 15 to 7 or 8 against Vitality on Inferno, and we threw away like that game somehow.
Classic G2.
Yeah, that's like you have to keep the memes in check, right? So makes sense.
But I'm glad you said like keep the memes in check. Before we get on to the Rio Major or the road to the Rio Major, keeping the memes on check. I know G2 is a heavy, like they love the memes, they love to put all this stuff out there. How
Mm,
is it for you as a player to go through that when you're a Monasi or a Nico and the memes are kind of like in a nicer way? You were
mm,
obviously on like the other end of it where there'd be some funny memes about you, but then
yeah,
obviously the fans would turn it against you.
yeah,
Is that hard to go through? Because like some of them I would look at and think, shit, that's like hurting my ego a little bit, you know?
yeah. I think it's just in general I didn't know how to deal with social media back then at all.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think I've always used humor and sarcasm as like a defense mechanism. So I think it fit me quite well to join G2. Like I was also already making memes the first day, so I was not
Okay,
really
good.
that big of a deal. But I know that the other players on the team, like that has been there for some time, they were like,
Mm.
it was getting a bit old for them.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
were they
It's
were
getting
like,
too much.
okay, now we've laughed at the same thing 4 times. Like let's move on. Like, okay, Nico missed from heaven. Haha,
Oh yeah,
funny.
please stop
Yeah,
posting
yeah.
that 2 years later.
Yeah,
Yeah, people
Yeah,
still post that.
No,
yeah.
people make signs now. I saw at Dallas.
Oh yeah, they
Somebody
did.
made a freaking sign about it. It's crazy.
Oh, and
But yeah,
and
that was
then
fun.
going on to the road to Rio. Yeah,
Hmm.
this is where I guess it was a bit of a shock factor.
But
It
this is
starts off.
real
I got
depression.
yeah, because it starts off so good, 16-0 against Ecstatic. Yeah,
Yeah, my highest
then
rating in D2, I think even.
wait a second, what is that? 2.21.
I
He went,
completely
there's
smashed them.
another Danish team. I'm
Yep.
gonna ruin their hopes and dreams. I
Yep.
am the Giga Chad. This is where it started to come. Is this where Giga Chad came from? Is this where we
N-
started to see it at the beginning?
No, the Giga thing started from the first tournament in Blast. But
Okay,
because
from the first one. Okay.
the Giga thing is like that's why it's such a weird thing, but it's originally because I'm shit, right? So
Oh, so they were just because you were bossing out, they gave you
yeah,
the Giga Chad.
exactly. So it's I don't really know how to
Oh.
like deal with it because I'm always thinking like, you know,
Is it a
some
good thing?
some
Is it a bad
some
thing?
people mean it well, but yeah.
It's
Well,
hard to
take it
read
this.
when they mean it good and when they mean it
Yep.
bad.
Yeah, definitely.
I
I
only
think
ever
it's
said
more
it
on
in a
how
good
you
way.
wake up at that day, how you feel about it,
Yeah.
rather than
I remember standing on stage, G2's gone on stage, and it's like light on HooXi. The Giga Chat. That was the for me, it was used as a positive for you, just to be clear. But
Yeah, yeah.
also, but also there is one thing that's come into reality. If we look at HooXi now since he's been going gym, he could in maybe 1 year be an actual into the Giga Chat.
I think I
You
would
need
say
1 year,
like
2 years,
2 years
two
maybe.
years.
Yeah, maybe I would fit the.
Give me one of these now. Let's see how you're cooking, HooXi.
But it's not a lot. I haven't been to
Yeah,
the
but
gym
that's still
for
good. Give me
fucking.
you're sick now. That's still good. That's still good.
I haven't been to the gym for almost a week now because I've been sick. So
That's
yeah.
fine. You have to have rest sometimes. Devilwalk, you want to show
but
us
how
yours?
mine, I haven't gone to the gym in like months.
There's something there. It
There's
exists.
something. But I'm
Just very
still
skinny.
skinny, that's the problem.
Yeah. No,
Uh
he's actually transforming.
yeah, a little bit, little bit. bit by bit. I have a lot more weight now, but
That's good.
like obviously going into this Giga Chad thing, if you even
Mm.
look at like the recent tournament, there must have been it. Does it? Do you have any questions whether they're being serious or not? Because it feels like more people are being a lot more genuine about it now compared to
Yeah.
back then.
No, I think it's very easy to tell. Like when you're at a tournament, because like you see people and like you see their facial expression and like how they actually like say it and stuff like this. But
Yeah.
it's like it's basically okay. You post a like 0.25 rating, everyone says GigaChat. You post like a 2.0 rating, everyone also says GigaChat. So like whatever to
Yeah.
it's the
You
same
need to see
shit.
if it's the same people. So you need to see if the same person who's commented, if he's done it on low and
Oh,
high, or if he
it
only does it when high, then
it's
it's good.
definitely not the same. I can tell you that much.
Okay, so coming back onto our road to Rio, yes, you
Hmm.
started off really well there.
Hmm.
You lose to Cloud9. No real shame against losing against Cloud9. It was a 16-13 game on Mirage. Then you
Yeah.
lose to one win. That
Mm.
was with a Flamey who was already on his way out of playing top tier CS. And
Yep.
then for your going 1-3 game, you lose to Gamer Legion as well.
Hmm.
Obviously, Gamer Legion went on to do well, not at this major, at the Paris major, but they were starting to show themselves as somewhat of a formidable
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
But like, how hard was this for you to go through, considering you looked like you were starting to level up, and this was a big slap back down?
Yeah. I think uh the major system, just how it works, is just so tough with when you're the favorite and
Hmm.
you go into these best of ones. Like the worst thing that can happen almost is that you go 1-1 the first day, and then the
Yeah.
second day you have to play one best of one. That's your whole day. And I don't know. I just remember we knew the map. We knew it was going to be ancient. We watched like how they played. They had this one B execute, and we just had to play around this one B execute, and they did it like 3 times, and we lost all three. And I still to this day
Oh,
have no clue how it happened. The Cloud9 game I actually don't remember too well, but it's probably just one of those like close games that we should
yeah.
have won. It feels like. And then the Gamer Legion game, uh, we smashed them completely first map I remember, and then they smashed us back. And
Yep. On
they
Mirage
w-
of all things, where you've got Munasi and Nico, is that's what was crazy.
yeah, but we didn't even get like out of top mid. I remember they ran at us and they just ran us over. And I remember saying to myself like, okay, now they will come out playing full disrespect the third map,
Yeah.
and of course they did, and somehow it still worked, even though we were so ready for it. And yeah, I don't know. It was unbelievable when we lost. Like I've never had this feeling in my life ever, even after as well. Uh,
Mm.
and also like I play with players who have been through like everything. Like
Yeah.
Nico has won like God knows how many tournaments at this point, and he's also lost a major final where he was like
Yeah.
the biggest favorite, and like he said this is by far the worst feeling he ever had, like
Of course.
ever. And
Oh.
and I was just like, okay, well, the
Don't
only
know how to
positive
get out of this.
the only positive thing I can get from this is that it will never get worse. So yeah,
Ooh,
uh, wow, that I was literally like, it was in Malta. I remember the RMR or whatever it was called, the major
yeah.
qualifier,
Yeah.
and we were like, I just went to my hotel room after we lost, and I shut off the light, and I was just sitting in the dark for 2 days straight. I didn't even turn on
Bloody
the light. I
hell,
didn't
man.
go outside or anything. I was just full tilt. So
Is this where they got you a mental coach? Because you had one, something changed at some point where you got Edward.
I can't remember if this
Because
was,
he was
maybe it
with you
was,
for a world final. So I'm guessing he's maybe at full finals as well after the major.
yeah. No, after we lost, we went to a meeting at the headquarters in Berlin.
Hmm.
Like obviously after having like a break of like a few weeks or something, and then we just talked how to move forward, and then got told that the manager and coach left or was removed, or I can't remember if it was their own decision or not.
So when
Uh,
Extaz was going, and then also
And Niak, right?
Nyack, yeah.
yeah, and then maybe that was when Edward was. I think actually Edward was on a video meeting at that meeting with us.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of things changed, obviously.
Yeah.
That's when
In
like Petsa came in, I think, as well.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He took over the manager job, and Edward came in as the new mental coach, and we got Swanee bumped up from analyst to head coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is well, at this point, right? Were you ever in worry of your position? Like, I might get axed at this point.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
I think
Jesus.
everyone would be like, the guy I replaced got 6 months, and he went to a fucking final at Katowice, and I've been
Yeah.
here for what, 4 3 4 months, and I didn't even qualify for the major with like probably the best team ever to not qualify for the major. So of course I was
Oh.
thinking that something else would happen,
Yeah.
but yeah. Um, yeah, it's kind of a position where you just have to do the best you can, and you can't really like control anything else. So you might as well just give it your best.
Yeah. And from there, you go. Obviously, things change. You go to full finals. Fifth to sixth. Did that get you in playoffs? I think it did just get you in
No,
playoffs, right? No, it
well,
didn't. That's not.
it's this fake playoff thing where
Yeah,
you get to
it's playoffs,
quarterfinals,
but you're
but
not there.
you're not in the actual Royal Arena, which also
Yeah,
tilted me a lot because I wanted to play there so
of
badly.
course, of
Uh,
course.
so it was like,
Yeah, because it was only 2 stage days. That was it. Only 2 stage days.
yeah. But so it was like
Oh,
going from that major failure, resetting, then coming back to this, and then it's just a huge bump in the head one more time, because for me as a Dane, I really wanted to play that, but
of
Yeah.
course.
yeah.
Now the next one, um, this is the most difficult event of anyone could ever have to go through,
Yeah.
because obviously it was the passing of your dad as you traveled to the event.
Hmm.
You still agreed to continue to be at that event. I remember being told by G2 management, blast management, like, don't talk to HooXi, no interviews, like, let's just
Yeah.
see what
Yeah.
happens, right? Which is completely normal. Obviously, I'm fully agreeing to that.
Uh,
And I sent you this message on when you went on to win this event, right?
hmm.
And I sent you this message I'm reading from my Twitter DMs on the 17th of December. And I said, I wanted to hug you, but I didn't want to make it harder for you because you had tears in your eyes. You stood on that stage with the trophy, your first trophy,
Hmm.
and you still spoke to everyone. And then I remember just you made me feel emotional. I have no idea to this day, HooXi, how you managed to do this, brother. This is the most impressive win that anyone could ever do. And I
Yeah.
just, I
Yeah.
you don't have to talk about this with us. We can skip it if you want, but I just want to understand from your perspective, if possible, how the fuck did you do this?
That's, I don't know. I think so. Obviously, talked to my family about the decision to stay or not, and they said, uh, "Well, you can't really change anything by going home, and we would like to have a distraction from what's happening. So,
Oh wow,
if we can follow your matches like a few hours a day, that would be great, and I think it would also be good
Oh.
for you." And I just said that makes sense, and then obviously I couldn't sleep at all that whole event anyway, so that was just more time to prepare for the games.
yeah,
And yeah, I don't know. Uh, I think it just also, like, as sad as it was, I think it brought the team together in a very special way.
yeah,
Where we would, like, it was more than just a game, you know.
yeah,
And I think we were playing for something else than just like prize money and a trophy. And
yeah.
yeah, I think that just made the team better in that sense. And
Did
I
you
think that
feel
that's
like
how it happened.
did you feel like the whole team was more behind you than ever? Did you feel like you had a great support as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think we all bonded in a way that you cannot without something tragic happening, basically.
Yeah,
Oh.
So that was like a small positive in like a lot of negative, but um,
hmm,
but yeah, I think that definitely had a lot to do with it. And yeah, I don't know. It was such a roller coaster because it's like probably the happiest moment of my life winning that trophy. It's the biggest achievement I've ever had, and at the same
Yeah,
time, it's the worst. So I had no idea what to feel or think or say or anything. I was just,
yeah. And it
yeah, I
was
was just
crazy,
there.
right? Because I remember when you guys we had an idea you guys were gonna win. Obviously, I'm being told like, oh, you could ask him just one question, see if he wants to ask something. And I remember like asking your other players questions. I'm getting to you at the end, and I'm thinking, what the fuck am I supposed to say
Yeah,
right now to this guy? Like, this is probably the hardest interview in my career because I
yeah,
didn't want to go into any details. I had to keep it as basic as possible. And obviously, both G2 management and Blast were like, don't mention his family. Don't like, we don't know how he's gonna react. Don't say it. So I'm
I mean,
like,
even the standard question, "How do you feel?" is like a bad
it's like,
question at
yeah,
that
yeah,
point.
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And I'm like, and then afterwards, I remember getting so much hate from the community. They're like, "You should have asked him more questions. You should let him talk." And I'm like, "Bro, the people that hired me don't want me to talk about this shit. I
yeah.
can't let him not say anything during his thing." By the way, you handled the answer was beautiful and perfect. You did it so good.
I have no clue what I said. I have
It
no
was
clue.
I don't have the clip, but off memory, it was like about how hard this moment was, what it means to you, and about saying how like you just wish that your dad was here to see like you do this and you hope he's
Yeah,
proud of you. And I think I said that like I think everyone's proud of you. And that's when that was the point where I wanted to hug you, but I also didn't want to make it worse for you because I just saw you were crying and I couldn't
yeah.
ask any follow-up questions. So I just had to like send it off on some okay high,
Okay,
like
thanks. Bye.
to the
Yeah,
crowd. No,
exactly.
it was like it was like my make sure the arena like cheers for G2, right? So like
Yeah, yeah.
make some noise for G2, blah blah blah. And it's just it was just so tough. And
Mm-hmm.
then
But it's also, even though it's like such a crazy moment, it's so beautiful in a sense as well, you know.
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's these moments, you remember even as like a viewer,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like hard stuck in your brain as you grow up, or when you become a CS player, they leave a mark.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a crazy moment. I don't know. That it definitely like made me a lot stronger as a person, I think.
yeah.
Just everything in that like week or whatever it was. But yeah, I'm happy I did a good interview.
You did. You definitely did. And I got to ask just lastly on this part is just I don't want to go too much on the games of it. We've got so much still more to get through, but it's like how much was it helpful having Edward there as such a for me, he's such a hands-on mental coach, but also a very you can be close with him. He's
Yeah,
not like some of these mental coaches which are a bit more tough or rough. Like he's a very spiritual person, I think is the best way to describe him.
yeah. I think like he was just really good at giving me space and let me do what I want.
Yeah.
And there was like this ongoing meme after that, because we always go out and get some fresh air before the games, play
Mhm.
football or go for a walk or something. But I didn't,
Yeah.
because it didn't feel like it. Or I needed some extra sleep because I couldn't fall asleep for a long time or something.
Yeah.
And then there was this joke after that, like, okay, but it worked in Blast, so maybe I should just not do it as well for the next tournament. And you know,
Keep skipping it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But no,
was,
but I
was
think,
it the same pattern for the next tournament win?
yeah, I actually think I didn't do it for a long time. um, but but yeah, no, obviously he was great. We also, it was a bit of a special tournament in the sense that we didn't have Petsa with us as manager. We had Yuli with us, who's like the sports director. Um,
Mm,
Oh, okay.
so yeah, but I don't know. I think mental coach or not, I think also the support from the teammates, coach, everything was just great. They all handled it as well as they could, and also other players, like I think a special guy. Even though we didn't talk much about it or anything, just that I knew that Dupree went through kind of the same thing
yeah,
um, before me, and you know, playing against him, and just giving him a hug after the game was also, everything gave something.
yeah.
So yeah, it
So it's
was
funny because in that DM, what did you reply back to me? I'm just gonna. He goes, "Yeah, you can give me a hug whenever you want, big guy." And I was like, "How is this guy still talking so nicely and still so fine after this?" Man, like I remember saying to my wife, I was like, I feel pain. I don't know how anyone is possibly doing this. And then after this, right, it's player break time.
Yeah.
So you have to digest a lot of stuff.
hmm
How did you manage in a short? Because it's not a long player break, right? It's like less
Mm.
than a month. It's 3
Yeah,
weeks
much less than a month. Yeah.
because you got to go back to
I mean,
boot camp and stuff
yeah,
afterwards.
you probably practice like, I don't know,
Yeah.
10 days
I think
before
it
the
was
tournament
a bit
starts.
less than 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how were you able to even then like reset that part to get into the next season to 2023?
I wasn't at all.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can imagine.
it's also probably like one of my worst experiences was that this was just before Christmas.
Yeah,
Um, so like you could probably imagine like
Oh, yeah.
how I get
I
together
didn't
would
even
feel.
think about, yeah.
So like there was
mhm,
not much of a reset in that regard. With all these like special days where you like usually spend a lot of time with your family and stuff like this.
yeah,
Um, and looking back, like this is probably what causes like that I even get kicked from G2 in the end, because I never got a chance to fully reset, and I never got a chance to like get that break that I needed, because we went straight
mhm.
to blast something
Groups,
spring
spring
groups.
groups.
Yeah.
Yeah, into
Then we went
Kato.
straight to Kato, and like I was just riding a wave of like success and like traveling, and everything was going so fast that I didn't really like had time to like stop and think and breathe for a bit. And I
Yeah.
think that's why I ended up like just being full emo at just before the summer break, because I you need to like chill a bit after something like this
Yeah,
happens.
Yeah.
And as I said, like in the start of this podcast, I probably one of my biggest flaws is that I don't know when to relax. And
yeah. So there's two
that's
and
just not
two doesn't
it's just
help.
not a good combination at all.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And this is what's crazy, right? Is that people are that's just gonna look, right? If they're not thinking about this, oh yeah, he can get past it. Well, unless you've experienced that kind of loss, I've not lost a parent, but I've lost someone very close to me.
hmm
To go through those things, it's not a short amount of time. It can be something that goes on for many years that you have to
Yeah.
go through. Let alone when you're trying to be a professional Counter Strike player who's never at home, who's always on the road, who's always got social media pressure. For
Yeah.
you guys, I can't even begin to imagine. But then you conquer Blast Premier Spring groups, yeah, first to
hmm
third place, so you get the guaranteed spot in spring final, and then
hmm
you go straight to Katowice,
hmm
and this was like just the run continued. It was
Yeah.
just a run of domination. This was G2 with zero problems at all. You 2-0'd everyone in Group A, big phase, then Navi.
Yeah.
You go through to playoffs, you start in the semis, you 2-0 Liquid, who beat
hmm
Vitality, and you 3-1 Heroic, who obviously at the time were pretty damn good.
Yeah.
This was a how do you put this together? Was this a flow state? Was this things connecting at the right time?
Yeah. I think it's just a like it's momentum. It's that we kind of got closer as a group, and
Yeah,
everything just kind of clicked, and we had this whole run of like can't even remember how many maps. So I think we won like 20 something maps in a row. And yeah, we were just the best nuke team in the world. We were the best Inferno team in the world. We we had this like there was like us and Heroic 1 and 2, and then
yeah,
everyone else was below us.
yeah.
We had like a gap to everyone, and so that final was just yeah, that final meant so much, because it was you know for Nico and Hunter,
Oh,
they were in so many finals and never won the trophy, and
for Nico
Yeah.
especially, like Nico's was crazy.
yeah, Justin could write history with being the first guy to win it 2 years in a row. I was
Yeah,
playing against like all my Danish buddies, and it was like
yeah.
the fight for like being the cemented like #1 in the world, and
They stole your stars, and now you get to get
yeah,
them back.
yeah. Now I come with my international bomb squad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also you had Hunter hitting like astronomical levels of good performance. Like that was
Yeah,
crazy. Hunter getting the MVP there was the most unexpected part of that all. He was
yeah,
in just electrifying shape.
yeah. But our best strat on CT for that whole tournament was to say that we wanted to save, and then we somehow won anyway. That happened 20 times, I think. It was alone on the nuke map against Heroic. I think it happened 3 rounds.
Wow.
So yeah,
Fake the save, dominate, win
Is it that
rounds.
you like you kind of call the save and everyone just stops in place and they overextend?
yes, like you call the save, but even though
Yeah.
you save, you still want to do like you still want to take the easy kills and make the economical
Yeah,
damage.
exactly.
And then they
Yeah.
just come fucking rushing at you, and they're like, "Okay, fine." They gave us 2 kills. Maybe we can go anyway. And then we went, and then yeah, I don't know how that happened, but yeah. But we had to
That
lose
was
Inferno of all maps. We had to lose Inferno. It was like their worst
yeah.
map and our best, and it would have kept the streak alive and everything. Yep. I don't know how we
That's what
lost that one.
that's also when you start to worry, right? Like you're up 2 maps, they win
Yeah.
Inferno, and you think, wait a second, I gotta hold on to
I
this
think the
one.
fifth map is always so random in a best of 5 series.
You don't want to go there. You don't want to
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah.
Oh
Well, I don't
man.
know. I think it's mostly because people don't really prepare too well for it, but
Yeah.
I was prepared for even their permaban that final.
Okay.
Like
Oh,
like
okay.
Okay.
nobody could surprise me that day. So
It's not happening.
no,
Huxley
no, no.
hasn't actually slept before the grand final.
Nope.
How was it at this point as well with Swanee? Because it seemed like to me from remember obviously at this time I was spending quite a lot of time with Munacy as well.
Mm,
So I'm talking to him a lot, and it just seemed like Swanee was the right fit for you guys as not just analysts going to become a coach, but like going as a supportive element as well. Is that the right way
yeah.
of framing how much he does? I think he was very underrated in the runs that you guys had,
Mm,
and all I've heard from players is good things about him.
yeah. Like at this time, we all we wanted from Swanee was basically to keep doing what he was doing, and give us space to develop our own style as a team. Because
Nice.
with Extras, it was like not that it was his fault or anything, but
Hmm.
we were just trying to find a mix of my style and his style and the rest of the guys. And I'm the kind of guy who likes to listen to all my players and hear like what do you want to do, and then we mix a lot of things together, and then we end up getting something good out of it. And he's the
Yeah.
polar opposite. He thinks me and him should run the team, the players should play the game and nothing else, and then we control everything. So that was obviously like that's hard
Yeah,
to
it's like a
make
new
work.
way for you to work as well.
Yeah, that I never tried it before, and obviously it worked for him and Apex, and it works now as well. Completely, like it works insane for them right now. They are fucking on a 30 streak, so it's not like any of the styles are right or wrong, but to
Yeah.
mix them was tough. And then I think with Swanee, I just said like just try and let like us control the style for a bit, and you just like help with the obvious stuff that you want to help with, like finding set strats and fixing like fundamental mistakes and stuff like this. And then
Yeah.
I think that just worked out well for a long time. And it was only like after, yeah, I think like almost from when Swanee came in and until the summer break, maybe, that we started to talk about, okay, now you need to, you know, raise your voice a bit more and, help people when they are doing
Okay.
mistakes and stuff like this. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I think he was
Did you feel
exactly what
like
they
you had
needed.
did you have a heavier workload when you had Swanee in that case
No,
then, or no? Or you helped with everything like that you needed?
no, I think like I could just tell him whatever I wanted, and then he would help. But yeah, no, I definitely think like he's really hardworking as well. So
Yeah.
in terms of like anti-strat and stuff like this, if I needed extra sleep, I could just tell him like, can you do one more T side for me, and then I will just go to bed now and stuff like this. So
Okay.
it
Nice.
was not,
That's
but
perfect.
I also like I'm a kind of guy who likes to do things myself as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not like I did more or less depending on the coach.
So you're not a delegator here, Hooksy,
I'm
yeah?
getting better at it. But that's
Okay,
also
that's
one
good.
of the things that I'm working on, because like I really like just knowing how everything is going and what everything has been done, and like what's the idea behind everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And so obviously Katowice is insane. I'm not going to go through every single event because I know we really kept you for quite a amount of time. We're going to have
Yeah.
to hit on the Paris Major
Uh-huh.
because everyone's expecting after World Finals and Katowice that
Hmm.
you guys are going to come through and be favorites for this major. And
But
it
this
was
is
a
also like we've recently transitioned from CS:GO to CS2. There hasn't been like that much tournaments. This is the first major
No,
in,
this is
wasn't
no,
it?
this
still
was his
this
last
is still
CS:GO. This is still
CS:GO.
CS:GO.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's still CS:GO. Oh yeah,
Paris
yeah,
Paris was
that's
the
true.
last CS:GO major. Paris was
Yeah.
the
Oh,
last
that's how
CS:GO
it
major.
was. Yeah.
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 Yep.
And so this is what's crazy, right? We
Hmm.
see you guys. I'm just trying to find the results here for you. So vitality in the first game is kind
Yeah,
of crazy.
I can tell you that
Yeah.
much about that game, that we should have never fucking lost. We lost to Saibu doing that insane 1v4 where he silent jumps and makes a 1v4,
Oh
and
yeah,
Oh,
and
the
we lose
silent jump.
16-14, and I don't know, we had
Mm-hmm.
everything under control that game, and still somehow we lost. And that
Yeah.
just means so much to win that one best of one. So yeah.
And then the second one is against Devilwalks B&E at this point,
Yep.
who obviously love to play against Nico and Hunter specifically. There's a lot in this on the personal side of things. Devil's just covering his mouth right now. And you play Ancient of all maps. And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
just I remember this. So this is the point where the boys were supposed to come to me, the B&E boys were supposed to come to me for the interview. And obviously I'm actually manager at the time of them and
Mhm.
they don't. So I'm saying like these fucking lazy players, like then my own players are not coming to do the interview. I was so tilted. And I'm thinking, we're going up against G2, they're not even coming to do their content or interviews. I best hope they're laser focused. And then you even lose that game, which you guys should have been obviously massively favored in.
Mhm. I
What
They
remember.
happened?
were massively favored in.
I remember it so clearly. Like, we thought they were playing rubbish CS. Like, it was so bad how they played, and we were watching their games, and everything was like just randomly peeking everywhere, no structure, nothing. And then
Yeah,
we
Devil,
played them.
where's the structure? Where's the structure, coach?
Then we played them, and they were faking our ass every round. Like, they rush A, then they faked rush A, went up B, then they faked rush A, faked B, and then they went A again. And I was losing my mind playing against them. And then when we finally got some good rounds, they did something crazy. Like they did something where like it was just like an individual doing popping off and stuff like this. Well, it was
Yeah.
one of the most frustrating games I've ever played, I think.
I'll tell you this. Doing the prep for the B&E guys, it was first of all, it was impossible to get any structure with these guys popping off. It was impossible. They liked the peaking, they liked all of this.
Yeah, but they were
But
good
I
at it.
also knew that you guys, I knew that you specifically would prepare so freaking much that like you would know everything.
Yes, I knew
So the
everything you
only
guys did.
thing, the only thing that I did was I looked at us and I
Yeah,
said, okay, this is what we're gonna do and fake this pattern into this, fake this pattern, just
yeah,
to trick these random shitty rounds into something good.
yeah. No, it definitely worked. I was like, kudos for that. But it was
Oh,
so
and
annoying. But I think also like those guys is probably one of the worst opponents to get in a best of one at a major, because they
Yes,
don't
yeah,
they
100%.
don't
yeah,
feel these guys don't feel pressure somehow.
no,
They
none at
fuel
all.
they use it as fuel somehow, and they just get more pumped up, and they can make the sickest comebacks. And like I
They're never
remember,
down. They're never down. This is the
no,
thing with them.
I remember so many games watching them at the majors where I'm just like, yep, like the other guys, they looked, freaked out, and these guys, they look like a bunch of guys on coke, like full maniacs. They're just running around with like screaming, and yeah, well, I don't know.
Wait,
It's like you could never get them to stop.
Nope.
no,
If you're coaching them, Rigo gets a 3K, he needs the 4K, he needs the 5K.
Yep.
Like it was full running, But on
Yep.
some
Mhm.
teams, especially at these like big events, people tend to fall back, and they
Mm.
fall back more and more, and eventually you just own the entire map, and you're just running through things, and you can't even find your opponent.
Yeah.
So it can be, it's one of those things like you need to, if you're playing a team that plays hard ass like that and never stops, you need to face them at some point. You know, you need to like
Mm.
put them back, to let them sit down, because otherwise it's gonna
Yep.
fall.
But if that fails, then you just know the game is over, like
That's true.
instant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And this is what's crazy. It's like that whole situation was you're then down in the 0-2. Yeah.
Mhm.
You're playing Fnatic. Oh no, wait a second, you're not 0-2. You won 2. You won someone.
We
Yeah,
won against
you beat
Mongols.
Furia. No,
Mon-
Furia.
was it Furia?
I got it here in front of me right now.
Oh,
So you lost
okay.
to B&E and then you beat Furia 16-8, 16-7. When Art was still on the team, Drop was
Oh,
there
okay.
as well.
Okay.
And then for your elimination game, you play Fnatic. And I remember trying to understand that I still don't understand to this day why you played Vertigo as the deciding map.
Mm,
G2 removed Nuke. Vertigo was left over, which was like obviously not a map that Nico personally ever enjoyed.
And you
And that
were,
was the
weren't
most,
you really good on Nuke as well?
yes, they were really good on Nuke.
yes. I can't remember what was the reasoning behind it, but uh, I think they were just like super bad on it, and I think we practiced them, and they played like super well on it, on Nuke, that is, and
Ah,
uh,
okay.
and I think we just got spooked out a bit maybe from that. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, looking back, it was probably also a fucking huge mistake. But you know,
Oh. By the way, the G2 fans are real because I remember I had to do the interview with Nico because obviously the storyline was like, this is Nico's major, this is G2's major, blah, blah, blah. They are the favorites to win it. And then he goes out like without making it even to playoffs. And I ask about that bloody veto and everyone's scrambling for ideas. At this point, did you have Taz there watching, but he wasn't actually your coach? Was this the event where he was like
mm,
spectating what was happening? Or was it still just Swanee?
no, this was definitely still Swanee.
Just Swanee.
Taz came in for like way later, like World
Okay.
Finals
That's so he's watching at World
next time.
Final.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
Cool.
I
But
think he
here,
joined
so
at the end of the year of 2023, right? Or
Yes, exactly.
announced.
That's
okay,
the
end of
World
this year then.
Finals.
Yeah. So this major bomb out, like,
Mhm.
where does that put you?
No, I don't know. It's just like an empty feeling of like
Yeah.
we know we can do so much more than we did, but yeah, that we just again failed on a mental level. I think the pressure just got to us, and we lost this best of one 16-14 against Vitality. I think if we won that, it would have been a completely different story for the whole major. And I
Mm,
think that we focused on the wrong things mentally. And like I knew the problems, but I didn't have the answers. That's basically how I felt.
okay.
Um, because when it came to this thing about like pressure and stuff from being like the absolute favorites, we just didn't handle it well. And it was not, me being inexperienced. It was the whole team. We just didn't do well in that scenario.
Yeah.
Um, but how we should have done, I'm not sure. Even to this day, I'm not sure.
It was
But
tough.
this must
It
have been
was
a tough period also, because if I remember correctly, this is when really like the pressure on you as an individual started to go to like pretty high levels, I think, community wise.
Mm, yeah, I think we. So obviously, like there was Katowice we won, then there was EPL, and then we had like a decent amount of time to get ready for the major, where we
yeah.
had like boot camp and we put so much work into it, and then not even making the playoffs was like a huge disappointment. And then there was like 2 events after after the major, before the player break. This was before we changed everything so that the break is complete like after the major.
Yeah.
So we had like a trip to NA where we played Dallas and spring finals in Washington, I think.
Yeah, back to back,
And
5th to 6th, 3rd to 4th.
I took like those opportunities for granted. Like, and looking back, it's like obviously my mental state was in a really bad place, and um, this is what I talked about with like not getting a break
Yeah,
after
Yeah.
the whole thing with
And
my family, because like it came back to haunt me after this disappointment in Paris. I was just so burned out. I didn't know how to handle it, and I just wanted to like, I was thinking about how can I get home the quickest from Dallas on the plane to Dallas. Basically,
wow,
I didn't want to
wow.
go at all. I just wanted to
yeah.
chill and not do anything. And then I was obviously not a good teammate at that time. I was not a nice person to be around in general, and you cannot get good results if
Yeah.
your in-game leader is like that. So, um,
Oh,
yeah, I take a lot of responsibility for that because that's just fair.
I mean, it's
And
not really your responsibility at the end of the day either. It's
I
an
did,
unfortunate series of event with you not getting the break as well, and not
yeah.
getting the time you need.
yeah, of course, like it's not optimal, but at the same time, I think I could have handled it way better than I did, and that's probably something that
But
I reflected the most upon after the G2 time.
you can reflect on it now, but it's like when you're in that moment of what you were going through, there is no right or wrong way of dealing with it.
Yeah,
Because like
no,
because
but
you
yeah,
can't think normally. Yeah, how you're thinking now does not compare to what you were thinking back at that time.
yeah, definitely.
And without you don't have family around you, you don't have the same support around you. You're trying to compete in one of the most difficult sports online, like of what an esport is and what the like. And this is another thing that I think is so shit is that you went through what you went through, and then by this time of the year, people have already forgotten that, and they don't even factor that in. They're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
a few months ago. That
yeah.
doesn't matter."
No,
And
but
and like,
it's esports, you know.
yeah, I know, but still, it's not right and it's not acceptable. And then you also even like the analysts are just pointing things at you. Like you were getting so much hate from Kassad. I don't know, mate, was Yanko? I think Yanko was just saying something for Nico not getting tried. Like, how are you going through all of this stuff as well? Because it felt like at times you were almost becoming a punch bag, almost too much.
Oh, way too
Yeah.
much.
Well, at some point, I just needed to not look at social media at all because
Yeah.
it felt like the whole world hated me. And I could make a million excuses for like why I performed as I did and like why I was acting out badly,
Hmm.
but uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't really like doing that. But it was like, it was my first year of traveling a lot, of being tier
Yeah.
one, so I didn't know how to deal with anything, basically. And that's something that I think people also forget, that it was literally my first season still. Um,
Yeah.
but a lot of people in esports, they just remember the last game you played and that's it. So like
Sadly.
it's I get it, like I get how it is. I'm also a fan of like other sport teams like Manchester United, and I'm not always like saying nice
That's
words
my
at the
team.
TV,
That's my team. It's the worst. It's
S-
the worst period of
I'll
being a Man
tell you the
United
worst
fan.
part. I'm a Spurs fan.
Why did I agree to this podcast? Holy shit.
Hey, I'm a Man United fan. You've got me at least,
How are
Hooksy.
you
We can ignore
working
this
with this
idiot.
guy?
Bro, the amount of times he can actually chime in and say positive things about Spurs because we are doing so badly. So it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I gotta accept
I'm
this.
like, yeah, well, you're above us in the league.
Yeah,
Doesn't really matter.
but now.
Oh, it's tough. It is tough.
But yeah,
But
yeah.
do you feel like you were like it was almost too much or unfair? How do you view it now? Like you've gone through it because it was like a barrage of just attacks. Like Hooksy's the problem. They should remove Hooksy. Hooksy's denying these players trophies. Blah blah blah.
Like
And yet you're the sole
some
reason they
things.
got the trophies. They've been
Yeah,
struggling for a
yeah.
while before you came in.
I think I think some things were just like itchy comments to get attention, and
Mm,
some comments were fair. Like my individual level was not, as good as it should be for a team like that. Like I'm basically in a position that most people would would only dream of getting into.
Yeah.
So uh, yeah, like it was like some of it was definitely unfair. Let's be real, but
Yep.
but at the same time, I was mostly thinking it's fine that you say that I'm playing super badly and I don't deserve to be here and all this stuff, but why are you not saying the same about like 3 or 4 other IGLs that are doing
Yeah.
literally the same as
Exactly the
me?
same. Yeah.
At that time, I remember there was some period of time where I was in G2 and Kerrigan was like having the exact same
Yeah.
number
Exact
in
same.
stats as me, and everyone was saying this is the GOAT IGL, and everyone was saying how is this guy still on the team for me? And I
Yeah.
don't know, like I feel like I was calling decent. It was just my individual game that was not well. I was not playing well, so that was just hard to accept and understand, basically. But I think now I've learned that you cannot make sense out of everything, and you cannot make everyone happy, even though I would love
Very
to.
true.
But yeah,
It
That's
seems
the biggest
like,
thing as I've got older. Trying to please everyone is a waste of time.
yeah.
yeah,
Do what's best by you. We all learn this almost too late in life.
Yes.
yeah,
Everyone is too late. But it seems like you guys, no matter how tough the situation gets, just after it is when you start to actually find some miracle recipe and make it work.
yeah.
Because then you move on to like Cologne and win
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
event.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of factors as to why it went well, but I think the playstyle I brought to G2 is like, okay, we will bump out here and there, but if things click, we win for sure.
Hmm.
And we never lost a final when I was there. Like all 3 finals we were in, we won. And then I said this as well once before, but you can try and maybe ask the heroic guys if they would love to have all their second places or if they would rather have a few trophies like we had. Because
Yeah.
They
they
would.
consistently did better than us,
Yeah.
but they didn't win as much.
Yeah. They
And
didn't take the trophies. They had like spring final.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's just something that's it's just an eye test thing. You cannot like really pinpoint like why it is like that or how it works. But in general, it's just like if you give individuals freedom and
Hmm.
they get, if the motivation is in the right place, if they get momentum, these kind of players they will win you trophies. And then
Yeah.
sometimes they will not have the motivation or they will have low confidence and then all their plays will go wrong and then you will bump out in the group stage and
Hmm.
shit happens and that's what I felt like working I was working best in that kind of style at the time,
Yeah.
and I was better at like bringing a good you know fundament to have like those consistent results, but at least I got us like on the map again in a way. So
Yeah.
in the end I was like kind of happy with how that went in terms of trophies and stuff.
By Cologne, had you had a bit better like time to process things or deal with anything, or was it still kind of just rolling event to event?
No, I felt like a new person when I got back after the summer
Nice.
break. It was not like now looking back, I probably still needed like a bit more time because
Of
now I've
course.
had at least like 9 months, 10 months, and now I feel like I'm like completely ready to play.
Nice.
But a summer break definitely helped with
Yeah.
everything, and also I got this like I don't know what you want to call it in English, but like I got this shock in the break that like, okay, we might find another IGL. So
Wait, is it before Cologne?
Oh,
yeah,
Before Cologne?
not every player break. I was in G2. I got told this pretty much.
What?
really?
Yeah, that's just how it went. It's just how it is. But
Wait. Even when you won like world final trophy, there was a player break. They said they might look at changing you.
that one specifically, nobody fucked with me because
Okay,
that.
thank God.
But
Thank God.
besides that, like every break we had, I think I got told at some point like we might find someone else.
G2
Um,
management is really fucking something else.
no, but
I've got to control my words, but this is something else.
no, I liked it honestly because first of all, it gave me an opportunity to look at my options, but it
Okay.
also gave me a warning for like the upcoming season that now you gotta show like why you got a second chance. And that's what I think happened before Cologne. Like,
Motivating
uh,
you.
yeah, you have to use it as motivation, else you'll just crack at some point. You'll just collapse. So, so yeah, I think
But
it was
some
not
people also
necessarily.
thrive off some stability, you know, and like
I'm
having
not
these
that kind of
warning
guy.
shots fired past you every time is
Yeah,
crazy.
I just like being in the Matrix, like dodging all the bullets.
Woo! Don't worry, I'm staying in your team longer. Can't get rid of me.
Yeah,
Oh my god, dude,
but
it's impressive, but it's also it's like for me, it's a horrible thing to always have in the back of your mind.
yeah, it can be stressful, and I think to some players it would also change them. Like
Yeah,
I had the thought in my mind at some point, like, okay, should I just start keeping the AKs, and should I just like maybe not go first every time
Yeah.
to like bump up my own stats to make it look like I'm not the problem anymore. But at the same time,
that's
I was just
so dumb.
I was so convinced that what I was doing was the right thing
Yeah,
that I just kept doing it basically.
thank God you did. Thank God you did.
Well,
Some
I,
players you
I
can
got
never
kicked in the
teach
end,
this
so
quality either. I
yeah,
mean, what you're mentioning, like HooXi, it's like you know in your mind where the rotation is coming from. You know how much time you have to kill the person in sight, and if no one goes at the exact moment you
yeah,
need to go to find him, you're gonna lose the round or you're gonna win the round. And some
yeah,
people don't really see that small level of detail. I mean, it can be on Inferno if you the CT gets another guy running through the smoke CT before you find the guy inside B, you're all in trouble. You could all just die from that,
yeah.
or
I think
finding him and being able to turn around and he can't do anything.
yeah, I think there's that, and then there's also that really good players like you know Manes and Nico, all my teammates at the time,
Hmm.
Yep.
they know if they get a duel on their terms, they will win it. And I'm the opposite. Like most IGLs like me are the opposite, like Kerrigan and Apex. And how many times have you seen Apex try to jump somebody with a rifle? Because he just knows that
Yeah,
if you take the straight up duel, there's a good chance you will lose it. And it's the same
yeah,
for Kerrigan. Like how many times have you seen him just like knife out, go through a random smoke?
Yeah.
It's not like fully random, but it's still a huge risk that you would never
hmm,
see Monesi take, for example.
yeah,
Because
Yeah.
why the fuck would you take that if you can take a straight up duel
exactly.
and kill the guy? So that's also like why you sometimes see like me and other IGLs do crazy stuff. It's because we kind of have to, like, to
Yeah.
get the kill.
And that's what fans don't understand as well, because they don't understand the game on a high enough level. Obviously, not all fans, but some of them are just watching the stats or watching the numbers, and there's so much more smaller details that always need to be thought about with this. I'm
And
gonna
Yeah,
ask you.
it's
I'm gonna ask
definitely not
Hooksy quickly,
easy.
Devil.
Yeah.
I gotta ask him quickly. I told him a certain time. I'm looking at the timer. It's been going on way longer. Are you still fine?
yeah, yeah. But I have to get
Okay.
dinner soon. But yeah,
we gotta get through this last bit as well, because this is
Yeah,
gonna
we'll
be.
speed it up.
Devil, tell me now for all future guests, I will remember. Don't tell them it'd be like an hour, hour and a half, because that's just me lying straight through my teeth at this
but
point.
I told you
We
I'm a
talk
good
too much.
yapper.
Yeah, he said Hooks. He said in the DMs, he was like, "Yeah, I yap a lot. Like you've beaten my expectations. This is gonna be record breaking." But we are
that's what I
coming
do.
closer to the. Well, yeah, breaking records, doing
Yeah,
it the way we want to hear all the words, everything
I'm
come out.
breaking curses. That's what
But I
I'm
just
doing.
wanted
Yes.
to mention also, like being even if you don't have to be that much worse than a Saivu or a Simple or a Monacy to always lose the duel against them, you know?
Yeah,
Like
no,
it's
it's
such a small even though it looks big because they're consistently doing it,
yeah,
it's such a small, gap they have on everyone that just makes them consistent.
yep,
Yeah.
100%.
But that Cologne win was obviously incredible to have that year, right? Nico gets the MVP as well. You're back saying, okay, look, I've done some good damage here again. At that point, what did you feel as yourself as an in-game leader in one? I guess it's basically 1 year. World Finals, Katowice, Cologne. People can only dream of that, and you
Mhm.
managed to do it with everything you went through. You must have felt proud of yourself at that point.
Yeah, it was nice to do something that it almost felt like, obviously I've never won a major, so I can't say, but it
Yeah,
felt almost as special of an achievement because so few people have won both in the same year.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
in that regard, like I was obviously super proud and and also a bit surprised that we could do it. Uh, and I think we could have gone on to have like a really good rest of the year if it wasn't for all this CS2 bullshit coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I remember we went to this Saudi event, game
Gamers 8.
Gamers 8
Game is 8.
after, yeah, and it's literally like, that's, by the way, the worst 1v1 I've ever played. And if I don't lose that one because I'm an idiot, we probably win the tournament. And we end up going like third to fourth. But if we win that event after winning Cologne, then we have like this crazy streak momentum thing going on again, and who knows what can happen.
So Gamers 8
And
was in CS2 or
no, no,
No,
no. The
no.
first
no?
CS2 event was IM Sydney,
Sydney.
Okay, okay.
at least for
But people
us.
were practicing CS2 at the time, or
No, here it was still like full on CS:GO, but there was
But you
yeah.
like,
could play CS2. You could
but
play it, right? It was out.
there was still like some things in the back of our minds, and like how would we handle schedule and like the
Mm.
transition and all this stuff. And not that it did a lot, but it was still annoying. And then we went into Pro League. Can't even remember. It didn't go as well as we hoped. But
Top 8,
but
5th, 5th, 8th.
yeah, but there was still like this. There was this belief in our team that we were literally the best team in the world if we wanted to be. That we could beat
Yeah,
everyone. So when CS2 came, like everything obviously got thrown into the air, and then yeah, that was tough.
real tough.
I
Real
actually have
tough.
some questions regarding like CS2 because when it came out for me, I kind of felt like I had to change the way I viewed what worked in Counter Strike when
Yeah,
CS2 came out compared to CS:GO. Like I remember, like CS:GO for me was very strict 1-3-1 splits on T side, and I loved doing that kind of things. While CS2, it felt like it didn't even work. It didn't
yeah,
work to the same capacity. People would constantly get picked off, pistols, jumping MP9s. They couldn't defend themselves in the same areas that they could in CS:GO to the same
mm,
capacity. So it felt like you had to switch to a 4-1 or a 3-2 style,
yeah.
which I was definitely not used to. Was that something that you struggled with as well?
Yeah, I think CS2 is the worst thing that could happen to our team. It smashed everything into pieces basically. Like, I think the whole scene in general, still to this day, haven't caught up in terms of like tactical depth to what CS:GO was. Not even
Yeah,
close yet. Because I think that
Yeah.
in CS:GO, everyone was like spread out on the map. You could like take duels on either side. Everything was about putting pressure and like reacting to stuff, and it was like such a high pace, high level gameplay. Where
yeah,
now it feels like half of the rounds is just a set strat, and the other half is like, I don't even know what. And then there was also the change to MR12, which also for me still doesn't feel good.
No.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I really feel like we got thrown back to the Stone Age in terms of tactical depth. And just, yeah, I feel like everyone is just like walking together in a group now and trading each other
Yeah.
because it's so hard to multi-kill compared to CS:GO, and it's just
Yeah.
boring to look at. And I thought like, okay, now I come back after like being out for however many months it's been, and I thought, okay, maybe like, I can watch as much CS as I want, but it's completely different to be in the game playing against all the good
Hmm.
teams. So I thought like maybe
Yeah.
it will feel completely different, and I felt like I didn't miss anything. I felt like
Yeah.
nothing changed since I left.
Which is terrible.
So yeah, I think it takes for the game to change before the style will change, because the
Yeah.
game just doesn't really cater for you know the style we had in CS:GO.
It's a big
I
detriment to a
completely
lot of
agree.
teams.
I think it's annoying to a point.
Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
So I
nerdy
agree on
as
that.
well. Like,
Yeah.
it's maybe hard to understand if you haven't been in it, but I've spent so many hours developing, reactions and styles and talking to players. And now I just feel like I go in, I make a new strat, and it works from the first time I try it because so easy to follow.
Before it was
Mhm.
millimeter flashes to
They
smokes to
Yeah.
were in different times right now. All right, so let's take ourselves towards the end of Sydney, right? The
Mm.
last event with JKS. The first question I got here is similar to what we asked Munacy is, did they ask you about this change? Did you get any information on like this was happening, or was this just by JKS, high Nexa moment?
No, I was definitely a part of the discussions, and
Okay, so they involved you. Poor Munacy just ignored.
I don't want to get into it because I might like step on some toes that I don't want to screw anyone over or anything, but
Yeah,
it was definitely a weird time. Like obviously, like people know that Nico was basically with one foot in the Falcons camp, and then
yeah.
the logic was basically okay. Um, we are losing Nico, who's like a big voice in the team. He's like, as
Mhm.
I said, like the leader of the team in a way,
Yeah,
and he's
yeah.
also a star player. He's also like controlling all our city sites. Can we make one change and realistically be like top 3 in the world? Probably not.
no.
So
Yeah,
we
it's too
need to
much.
like do something a bit crazy maybe, or like to uh like Justin. He's a really good player and he has like crazy good qualities. He's for sure the best player I know at multi-killing with a FAMAS. That's for sure. But I don't know how that guy does it. But he's really good at a lot of things. But in that team, he obviously didn't have to communicate a lot, didn't have to talk a lot because there's so many
Yeah,
other voices already. But with Nico going, I thought to myself like, okay, can Justin step up to a point to communicate enough, or do we need like somebody who can communicate a lot and then another one in his spot?
yeah.
And then I obviously talked to Hunter about it and Petsa, who already worked with Nexa, and they suggested him. And it was also something about like, I think Nexa was maybe free to get at that point, which was
Okay.
also a huge plus. Or he was cheap at least, I think.
Was he in OG at the time before?
Might have been
Was
an near end of contract thing. Let me
Yeah,
check.
yeah, I think he was ending his time in OG or something. I can't remember exactly, but basically the
So
whole
yeah,
like
he was at the end of OG because he'd been on OG since Jan 2022, November 2023. So let's say his contract was just 2 years. Yeah,
It probably
all
ended the
2022.
next in January
Yeah,
2024.
so an
yeah,
easy one to get.
yeah. But we went from having like a really good dynamic that we were used to having like okay, then we removed Justin to get Nexa, but then Nico stayed, and then obviously the dynamic is you
Completely
know
wrong.
then we get a guy to do Justin's like basically what Justin was doing, but he has other qualities. So of course it's not ideal.
So if Nico was not if you knew he was not going to Falcons, right, and he was staying, you wouldn't have
Yeah.
made this change.
Mm, I'm not 100% sure, but probably not.
That's so there's so much that happened out of your control of you not knowing where Nico's going to go that
That
then
was
fucks everything else.
How did you feel like
it,
when that happens? Like what?
okay. It's public knowledge at this point that if Nico left, then Monesi wanted to go to Cloud9, and if they
Yeah,
both
yeah.
left, then Honda would go to Vitality.
Yeah.
So
Oh my God.
I didn't know if I had to build a team from scratch if I was still on the team because
Yeah, if there was
remember
a G2,
this is like still after a player break where I got told we're looking for a new agile.
mhm.
So
Oh, yeah,
so
that's crazy
three
actually.
players are leaving. I don't know if I have a spot, and I don't know. So like, how the
Oh
fuck
my
are we
God.
supposed to like make a good decision? And yeah, in the end, like I said to G2 management, if you have any chance to keep Nico and you don't do it, then I don't know what to tell you.
But
Then,
this is crazy then, right? Because like
yeah,
some of the blame has been put through other conversations, not just what Munacy told us, but obviously what other people have said now that it was
yeah,
just G2 management. But also Nico's part of the responsibility for making this fucking mess.
yeah, yeah. Of course, like if you talk to another
Fucking
team,
hell, my
then
God.
that is going to mess with some things because you cannot just like sit and wait for him to leave. So you have to like start making backup plans. And I don't want to put the blame on anyone. I think it was just like
I don't. I can do it myself. I can point fingers. You can. You don't have
I
to say
I
anything.
I think it was like I think that G2 is like obviously like the management has made some questionable decisions throughout the time, but I feel like management at G2 is the same as my situation at some point where it's just like they get blamed for everything. Like
Yeah, they're just catching L's.
they cannot win no matter what they do, and it was the same with me at some point. Like if Monesi was missing an offset, it was probably because I like hit his arm or something. You know what I mean?
You
Like
spoke to him. You're not allowed to
yeah,
talk, Hooksy.
yeah, something like that. So like I
You
think
screamed too loud, winning the round before.
yeah. No, I was not like, agreeing to everything that G2 management
Yeah.
has done throughout the history of like what they've been doing, but
Hmm.
but I also think that you can never put 100% of the blame on like one guy or a few guys because like
Yeah.
a lot of things are always happening and
It's a lot of knock-on effects. That's what it seems like, and
yeah.
that's a horrible situation for you all to be in. Because imagine just losing Nico, Manasi, and Hunter. Oh, by the way, I'm so glad Manasi never had to go to Cloud9. That would have been terrible for him. I know it's his little dream of like
Uh,
going to play with Electronic and Boom and stuff, but that would have been a terrible team as well.
one
That would have ended
one
badly.
one day Monesi will play in a CIS team and you will see the full potential of Monesi. You will never see his full potential in an international team.
Don't worry, Falcons are building this team, Hooksy, right? So Nico's going to learn Russian. Then you're going to
All
have
right.
Bit eventually. Kyosuke, Manasi, and then we need one more. I don't know who else. Who would be the bring Boomich to be IGL out of nowhere? Just make that happen. Yeah, that's
Some new
fine. I'm
star is
fine
gonna
with that.
come up.
I can learn
Yeah.
Russian. You know
Oi,
that.
if
If
you can
Nico
do
can,
that,
then I can.
if you can do that, Hooksy, man, I will put you down as the GOAT IGL forever. If you do English, Danish, and Russian in-game leading, that's it. You can have all the medals, all the accolades.
You know this meme
Imagine
about
the talent
learning.
pool.
You know this meme about learning Chinese.
No.
But I think it's from Dota or something because they say
Okay.
like, okay, it's time to learn Chinese, buddy, or something because like you have to go there. I actually thought to myself at some point, maybe it's not a bad idea. Like maybe I just could learn
Yeah,
Chinese and then go
bro,
save
they love you.
save
They
the
love you out
Asians.
there.
Yeah,
Have you
I have
seen?
I have
Have
a
you
huge
seen your
following.
page, your Weibo page, by the way? Because I use their Chinese social media as well.
Yeah,
And the first thing I did when I made mine, I looked on and saw Hooksy's more popular than like some of the best pros we've got. They love you out there.
I think
I'm gonna
I
go on there
can't
now
re-
and
I
check.
can't remember if it
I'm
was the
checking.
first week or the first month of my Weibo going live. I was more popular than Faker.
See,
Really?
Yeah,
bro, they love him.
What?
They
no,
love
but
him.
that's crazy.
So look at this, right? I'm just a talent, but I have more following on Chinese social media than I do on any other platform. I have 140,000 on my Weibo. Let's
Yeah.
go look at Hooksy. So Hooksy's is
I don't
Hooksy. Here we
even know
go.
if I have that many, but I just remember it
No, you
exploded
do.
at the
You
first
do.
few weeks. It was so funny.
So right now, his name is Hooksy. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
how they
that,
like to
that that's
put
my Chinese community. I
they like
who.
to put his name down here. There's lots of pictures of him, and he's at 142,000 with
Mm,
120,000 interactions per month.
I think yeah, and I
What?
haven't done anything on Weibo for
Yeah,
What
obviously
the
now you don't
hell?
do anything with it.
no, but
They love him.
I haven't done anything. I think after the first few months. But I don't know.
It's
The first few
incredible.
weeks, I think I got like 120k or something followers. It was completely
Yeah,
ridiculous.
he is Chinese love, so that's perfect for you. If you want to go learn Chinese as well, I'll still give you the stats. That's fine, Hooks. You can have it all. He could save Chinese CS.
But he can respond to everyone on this social media platform then.
Yeah, exactly. You can start talking to him all the way through.